Let's go ahead and see if we can connect. Alrighty, let's go ahead and let everyone on Discord know. I know I won't be in frame today. Stream starting now. I won't have my VTuber. Alrighty, so yes, I am gonna be invisible today. Something was happening with VTube Studio, something was happening with stuff. Hello, Roots, it's good to see you. I have my water though, I have my sippies. That was a lot of tech support issues. Hello, yes, I'm gonna be invisible today. I won't have my VTube model up, but we can still hang out and talk and hang out for a bit. It feels actually really weird not to have my model. I keep looking in the corner and I'm like, where's my blue girl? Where is she? It's like looking in a mirror and your face just isn't there. You're like, oh my god, something's wrong with the mirror. Hello, Chatty Matty. Yeah, I'm invisible today. I'm an invisible cryptid. Yeah, we were having some issues with the computer and the second monitor. Put a stick figure in the corner. A little blue stick figure. Just throw a pic of Cryptid on there. Oh my god. So that's it. Can I do that? Let me see here. Do I have a saved pic of Cryptid? How dare the tech malfunction? Right? Yeah, we're starting like half an hour late today, and I was setting up about 15-20 minutes early, so it's taken us about 40-45 minutes to try and fix this just to get to our 2 monitors working. But then yeah, there were issues with VTube Studio now, and I'm like, I just need to get started. I just need to actually stream. It'll be fine. But yeah, let me pull up the Discord real quick. Let's see. I wonder if I do have any saved pictures of Cryptid. I can go over here. Let's do plus an image. Image. Okay. And then I can browse. Let's see what pictures I have. Let's see. Maybe just be a solo cryptid if you bring it up. Yeah, maybe I can... Do I have any pictures of, like, the raccoons? For our raccoon emotes? Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, I do have some of the raccoons. Open. Okay. There. It's not... Yeah, there we go. I have one of my raccoons there. That's one of the raccoon emotes. That's kind of how I'm feeling after all that tech support issues. Which, just the fact that we got this working, everyone say thank you to Roots just for getting our second monitor and the Discord and everything. It's like she never left. Oh no. Yeah, that's basic. I mean, really, what's the difference here? Just make it blue, and that's me, right? That's me. Oh my, which by the way, when you're trying to fix cameras in VTube Studio stuff, and then like you suddenly see what the cameras are getting, it's like a jump scare seeing yourself hunched over, looking into the cameras, be like, ah, that's me in my flesh. Ew, why aren't I a pretty blue anime girl? Hello, welcome on in. Yeah, today we have some tech issues, the model won't be up, but we can still hang out and chat and yap for a little bit. And you know what, I figured that was more important than spending more than 40 minutes trying to figure out the model for today. So hopefully by next stream, it will all be fixed. But for this stream, hey, sometimes tech issues happen. Oh my god. But yeah, the fact that we have this going, that's all thanks to Roots. So thank you, Roots, for... It was so funny. I called them. I was trying to fix it, because the first issue was just the second monitor, where I have the writing screen up, and it takes that and it shows it in OBS for you guys. And the monitor wouldn't turn on. Yeah, please feel free to say whatever question you got. So I called Roots. I was like, Roots, I need tech support. I think poor Roots was like in the bathroom, so they were like, hold on a minute. And I'm like, Roots, come save me. And they're like, what is it? I'm like, it's broken. Oh, poor Roots, just having to. Is Sabrina the 5th or 6th gym? What do you mean here? I don't know what that question means. What was I saying though? But yeah, poor Roots is just hearing me, oh, and Pokemon. Okay. Pokemon Gym. Yeah, Roots was just hearing me scream at them like, something's wrong! But, so yeah. Huge prop for Roots for actually coming out here and fixing this shit. I'm actually being healthy tonight. I have a really big glass of water, so that's, like, actually good for me. Cryptid or not hip. Listen, you were hip. You had, like, the 3DS and everything when you were growing up. I didn't get to play any of the Pokemon games. We were too poor when baby Cryptid was growing up. We didn't have the Pokemon games. So I never got to play them. You guys are awesome though. Yeah, we're awesome, but we're not hip. There's a difference. I like to think we're nice and kind and genuine, but we are not hip. Cough, cough, Pokemon Brick Bronze. I'm not hip either, yeah. You're around the same age as me too, right, Chatty Maddie? So, like, I think we're just old. I think that's the problem now. We're getting old. Let me make sure my music's still going. Yeah. Nice, she says after I'm a bitch sometimes. It's true, and I really had to struggle with that for a while. I think I was trying to be so nice all the time when I was younger, and the world is not always nice back to you. So sometimes you do have to be a little bit bitchy back in order just to have people not take advantage of you. And I had a lot of years where there were a lot of people being very cruel and very much taking advantage of me. And then I was realizing, like, oh, actually it is okay to, like, stand up for myself or, like, say no to things and not do all these things that, like, put me in danger or that, like, aren't good for me. And it's okay to say no to stuff, and that doesn't make me, like, an evil, horrible person, even if other horrible, evil people are like, no, you're being so bitchy, why are you saying no, why are you acting? I think as a girl, you're, like, told a lot, like, if you don't do what someone else wants, you're being mean, you're acting up, you're being bitchy. And I was like, honestly, if the worst thing in life that I ever do is that I'm a bit bitchy by not doing stuff I don't want to do anymore for people who will never appreciate it, I'm like, honestly, that's pretty okay, actually. That's pretty A-okay. Sometimes you gotta shut shit down, you know? Yeah, you're only 2 years older than me. Yeah, see? You only watch the anime. Yeah, I was a huge Pokemon kid when I was younger. But yeah, that's the moral over here. I think we can be very nice people, and we can also... It's like a Tumblr thing, right? It's an online quote. It's like, do no harm, but take no shit. I very much, over the years, have been trying to apply that. I've been very tired of people's shit. And a lot of stuff from your childhood. Lost just to my parents, the medical system, and more. So I have no people-pleasing with authority much anymore. Yeah, see? Yeah, sometimes we're like, oh, actually, it is okay to be a little bit done with people's shit. Yeah, that's okay. And if people call us out for certain things, if people call us bad names for that, for actually taking care of ourselves and standing up for ourselves, then hey, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. But that is not the main thing today. Today, since today was a little bit late starting stream, or about half an hour late starting stream, the point was I did want to go through some more critiques. I know the past few streams have been nothing but, like, reading and writing critiques. That's not going to be too much of the case all the time, because I know we have some new raccoons here. Not every stream is a critique stream, storytime critique. But just for right now, with what's happening in real life, there's some stuff behind the scenes. Right now, this is kind of the extent of things I'm capable of handling right now. So we're going to do some more storytime critiques. I'm hoping this stream will be a little bit longer. Last stream was pretty short. So let's see what story submissions we have. I know you guys can't see it because it's just because of OBS what it's looking at, but I am looking through it. Dusk sent us something a while ago. I think Blub is whoever Blub is in Discord is the one who has our oldest one that we haven't read. So if Blub or Dusk are in stream, please feel free to let me know. We did read the Nihil ending. Something with... We did read Doppelgangers. Okay. MSM 32 we read. We did do Red Waves. I don't know if we did Chatty Matty's chapter 2. That's also why I made a consent directive for my medical care. It's very detailed, yep. Medical stuff in general, we have to be really, really careful of. Right? There's... The medical system can very easily accidentally fuck you over in the US. It's kind of crazy. MSM 30 here. Okay, you are here. I think we did do your volume 1 draft. We then did Red Waves, and then next after that is Chatty Matty's chapter 2. So I think it is Chatty Matty up next. Unless Blub is here. Blub and Dusk, I think, are the only ones who would be before Chatty Matty. So if either of those two are here, please feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and start setting up chapter 2 for Chatty Matty. Let's see here. I've realized too, I guess I need to do a new mouse. The mouse we have for this is all messed up, so oopsie. You hear? I never had to say don't touch my bird if not for emergency, mentions laws. Oh my goodness. Like an actual bird? Am I just being silly? Let's restart my Li-Fi. I don't want that going out midstream. What is after this? So after that, then it's somebody, I don't know if they have the same name in chat, but oh, your parts. Okay. Meowscarada. I think that's how you say it in the Discord. We have some stuff from them, then something else from what? And this user, it just says L, so I don't know who it is. But then it's Mechline Academy from somebody on Discord. It's probably some weird setting I have in Discord where it's harder for me to read their names, but it takes place the next day after chapter 1. Fuck. Okay, it's been a few days for me over here. What happened in... Okay, I don't have chapter 1 connected here. We finished chapter 1 with the last one is you. Okay. If you're here after we do, this is 12 pages. I might not do the full 12 pages today. I might just do a couple. So if none of the others are here, we could also do yours, Lunar Knight, the Mechline Academy. Yeah, just on Discord, it just shows it as like an L ... for me. That's probably some weird setting for me, but I was like, I don't know who said that. So we'll read a couple pages of Chatty Matty's chapter 2. We'll read Lunar Knights, and then if anyone else who's waiting on stuff appears, we'll go in order and we'll go through their stuff. Chapter 1 was she got the commission, had that conversation with Brigid, and the ship crash. And then, that's right, she got one of the people out, the guy was still in there, and then the ship, like, exploded. I believe that's what happened in chapter 1. So let's do chapter 2. We have this timeline stuff that I'm not going to read. Yeah. Barry wrapped the plush white towel around her orange skin. Oh, Barry, that's right, has orange skin. The fabric soft against her damp body. The steam still clung to her like a second skin. She reached for her pendant and fastened it around her neck, the cool crystal pressing against her chest like a quiet promise. Familiar, solid, steady. fastening around her neck. Her wet, wavy brown hair was twisted into a towel atop her head, the knot effortless, practiced. As she stepped out of the washroom, the sensation shifted beneath her bare feet, from the slick, chill stone tile to the creaking warmth of aged wood. The subtle change grounded her. She liked transitions like that. Clean, measurable, each footstep left a faint print behind her. She reached her door and turned. Across from hers was Bridget's room, the door slightly ajar. Inside, the green bed was messy, but pictures lined the walls with almost religious care. Barry caught the picture beside the bed. Bridget kissing Barry's cheek, holding her like nothing else had mattered in that moment. The only thing missing in the room? Bridget herself. Probably went to work early. Again. But before me? So this is interesting. So this is quite literally the next day. This is the next day. We're not seeing the direct aftermath. Barry smirked, shook her head, and continued down the hall. The door hissed softly as it closed. Inside her room, the air smelled of metal and varnish and a faint tang of solder. Home. A smaller space than her forge, but just as personal. One wall was nearly swallowed by a metallic table cluttered with half-built devices and blinking scraps. The pendulum clock above it ticked with precise dignity, its gold filigree catching the light. Her clothes were scattered across the floor like half-finished thoughts. I like that line. Her clothes were scattered across the floor like half-finished thoughts. I like that one. Except for one pristine outfit, white, pressed, and waiting above her bed. And beside her bed, a picture of her and Bridget. Let's see, she's... I'm just recentering myself real quick. Hold on. I'm just making sure things make sense. Okay, so she's left the bathroom. She reached her door and turned. Across from her room's door is Bridget's room. Then she continues down the hall. The door hissed softly and closed, and now she's inside her room. So that's why I'm like, wait a second here. She... With a quick peek in Bridget's. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She reached her door, so she was in the bathroom. She's now walking. Each footstep left a faint print behind her. She reached her door, this is her bedroom door, and turned. Bridget's door, she's catching that glimpse. And then she smirked, shook her head, and continued down the hall. Right? So she's continuing down. She was at her room. She continues down the hall. And then she's inside her room. It's this continue down the halls is misplaced here. If their rooms are right across from each other, she should just smirk, shake her head, and then the door hissed softly behind her as she closed, as she's inside her room. It's the continuing down the hall is misplaced. If I'm understanding the scenario, the room layout right. Why are you dead? Oh, hi, Lorenzo. Yeah, we had tech issues today. We had tech issues. VTube Studio was not being nice with us today, and I just said, F it. We were already starting half an hour late because of the tech issues. So, today I'm an invisible cryptid, and I just have the little raccoon picture in the corner because I didn't like not having anything in the corner. Especially living with my roommate. Oh, yep. Do you accidentally go into the wrong room or something? I know some people do that. So she's inside her room. Saw her home, a smaller place than her forge, but just as personal. One wall was nearly swallowed by a metallic table cluttered with half-built devices. Oh, wait, we read past this. And beside her bed, a picture of her and Bridget. Another of her mother, her aunt-in-law, and Bridget. Barry pulled out her chair. The wooden legs groaned across the floor, and she barely noticed. Her eyes had already fallen to the small object on the table. The data stick. It didn't belong here. Sleek, sharp, ancient. Yet, it seemed unmistakably Exian. Nestled beside her gauntlets and goggles like a forgotten truth. Her chest tightened. Memory surged. Flashes of heat, fire, fractured metal, the crash, the smell of ozone and smoke. Her pulse quickened. Her hand curled into a fist. Then, slam! Her fist struck the table. The sound snapped through the room, clean and final. I could have saved him. The words tore from her mouth before she could stop them, sharp and hot and brittle. Her throat burned. He was right there. He didn't have to die. Silence followed, thick and ringing. Her breath came in uneven pulls. She stared down at the data stick. Her mind wouldn't stop. What more could I have done? If this is her thoughts, it should be it should be a little bit different here, because the way it's written here seems like it's still the quote unquote the narrator, but it's suddenly switched to I. So if this is shifting to her internal thoughts, it needs a little bit of something here to show it's different. That could be italics, that could be the apostrophe on each side, just a little something to show it. Yeah, it's her thoughts. Okay. The ship had been ripping itself apart. She'd seen it. She'd felt it. Systems collapsing, the ship splitting, oxygen hissing into space. Still, the question lingered like smoke. Was it enough? Her shoulders slumped. She had done everything right. She pulled the winged girl out of the dying ship. Then, her mother had arrived just after the explosion, helped bring the winged girl to the house. That had to count for something, didn't it? Hi, decaffeinated. Yeah, there were tech issues today. And we were already starting late, so I figured I'll fight with VTube Studio another day. So I'm an invisible cryptid today. I'm invisible. And yeah, we just had the little raccoon in the corner. She inhaled deep and slow, let it out, then again. This wasn't her failure. She didn't fail. Not in the forge, not in the field. Her track record was spotless, her precision unmatched. Barry Mintaka didn't make mistakes. Her eyes drifted up, tracking the lines in the ceiling wood grain like circuits, searching for distraction. Then her gaze fell to the red shelf above the table. Familiar books lined it, their spines worn, their contents memorized. All but one. One book she'd never touched. At least, not for long. She'd never touched, at least not for long. So as in not in a long time, she hasn't touched it? Or if she does touch it, it's not for long. Volume 12, History and Legends of Sylvan Kind. Pure leather, gold lettering, dustless. Her fingers hesitated, then reached. She flipped through half the book quickly, then slowed. Something snagged her eye. She began to read, voice soft. Queen Artemis of Selene, a figure of unparalleled blah 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 blah. She doesn't open it long. Okay. Then I would maybe get rid of one book she's never touched, because she does touch it. She just doesn't read it for long. So that's a little confusing. Queen Artemis of Selene, a figure of unparalleled leadership in Exia's history, most known for her alliance of houses, and also her quest to find the fleece of Creus. The words blurred in and out of focus as her thoughts drifted. Strategic alliances, ancient wars, perseverance, triumph. Names she recognized, others she didn't. All the same, it was history, distant, measured. And then she saw it. The illustration. Queen Artemis, silver bow raised in defiance, and across from her, the Fëanor. Barry's breath caught. Her eyes locked on the figure across the battlefield, towering, drenched in scarlet armor, a black fur cloak flowing behind her like smoke, skin a deep, powerful green. Crimson eyes, horns that curved like weapons, and the battle axe gleaming, cruel, beautiful. Oh, fuck me. Thrift. Chatty Matty, why you always make me struggle with names? Okay. Okay, no, I'm locked in. Quinthrith Bloodaxe. Why does she have a normal badass name, but then we have Quinthrith? Chatty Matty. And I know I'm fucking it up too, okay. Barry stared. The Fëanor stood unapologetically, head high, body coiled with strength. Her presence wasn't just commanding, it was magnetic, wild, untouched by hesitation. Barry's fingers twitched slightly on the page. She swallowed. That's gotta be some bitch's named Bloodaxe, she muttered in wonder. Yeah, we know that. She said it here, so she doesn't have to say it here again. Her voice didn't sound like hers. Too soft, too full. The name lingered on her tongue. Her gaze didn't move. Barry's ears pricked up. Footsteps. Oh, sorry, I just hit the mic. Quinthrith. Anyone with a lisp is gonna fucking hate you. I think I've developed a lisp while trying to say that. This isn't a critique, by the way. It's not me like saying like, oh, you had to change it. I'm just over here like, god damn it, I'm butchering names live on stream. This is gonna be the people are gonna start doing this more often to me just to hear me fuck up live on stream, because I can't practice it. Oh no. What number are we on right now with page? We're just entering page 3. So Barry's ears pricked up, footsteps. So when she says that's gotta be her, this person is green, has crimson eyes, horns, and it is like towering. She's like this big, huge figure. I'm not sure if it says she has wings. Right, it says she has this armor, has this black fur cloak. So I'm not sure if she's meaning the lady she rescued, is it? In which case, maybe a mention of like, oh, this figure also has wings. Only Maddie can mess with Cryptid this way. Oh no, don't you worry. I'm sure everyone else is gonna do this thing to me too. Author Relic and I, whenever Author Relic's next on, have this joke that he's gonna put more like quietly as in quiets, because I was pointing out, I'm like, oh, you use like certain words like a lot, like repeatedly. Every chance you get, you gotta get rid of some of them. So Author Relic's gonna put extra into his stories. It's gonna be at me. Okay, this person has no wings. The lady she rescued is coming soon. Okay, so then she's randomly just looking at this person from history. Okay. So an explosion happened, she let somebody die, she's opened a history book, and she's seen the equivalent of like a really hot founding father. Somebody in history, and she's having a lesbian moment. Unrelated to the person she rescued. Okay. She snapped her book shut. A blush blooming hot across her cheeks, her body stilled, instinct sharpening. She didn't know this rhythm. Too heavy to be her mother and too cautious for Auntie Riri. Too steady to be Auntie Cece, she walked like she was an anxious guard puppy. Too calm for Bridget, whose steps always carried a spark of mischief. Okay, so this is her family's house, and Bridget just also lives here. Okay. The footsteps stopped just beyond her door. Then, a knock. Please excuse my intrusion. Are you available for a discussion? The voice was light, clear, delicately detached, as though it floated just above the world. Very jolted up, towel slipping from her half-dried hair. Hello, hello, Nevermore. Yes, Bridget is an unofficial family member. Okay. So the towel slipping from her half-dried hair. Yeah, I am. Just a moment. Her voice cracked with panic. Her eyes darted wildly across the room. Tools and scraps lay scattered across the floor like metal confetti. A half-disassembled circuit board teetered on the edge of her desk. Her gaze landed on the white gown draped over her bed, and her heart sank. Of course. Are you well? You sound rather exasperated, came the voice again, tinged now with genuine curiosity. I'm not sure if that's the right word. Barry's face flushed darker. Thoughts of Bridget filled her head somehow. She shook her head, smacked her forehead. Anything to get Bridget, even temporarily, out of her head. But the heat on her cheeks wasn't just from the bath, but from the memory of deft hands and mischievous words. Hello, hello, Ajuna. This is interesting. So we didn't have the moment of her in the bath. We start with the moment of she's leaving the shower. But I guess after witnessing somebody dying in front of her, someone has exploded, literally a ship exploded in front of her and killed somebody that she was trying to rescue. And I guess she has the other person she did rescue in the house. Now is the time, I guess, for the gay panic. And she leaves it. She does have the data stick. She does have this flashback of like, oh no, I could have saved somebody. Like somebody died in front of her. And then she has the gay panic again. It feels a little wonky here. Yeah, she's in shock and tried washing the shock away. Yeah, and I get that, but it just feels like a weird moment to have the gay panic. I feel like maybe it should be a little bit more focused on like somebody died in front of her. This is an interesting moment for gay panic. And two, she's gay panicking over Bridget, and she's gay panicking over this historical figure in a history book. Where was I? Mischievous words. No, I mean, yes, I'm fine, she called, stumbling over her words as she scrambled to change. The cool fabric kissed her damp skin, grounding her slightly. Just missing Bridget. It doesn't matter. Barry added more to herself than to the figure. She reached for the dress. It was her own design. Of course it was. She'd poured hours into stitching it just right, shaping the fabric to drape like mist and move like light. And move like light is interesting. I understand the drape like mist. I'm wondering what moving like light is. Slipping it over her shoulders, she felt the soft weight settle against her skin, molding to her curves before flaring out into graceful folds. With every movement, it seemed to breathe with her, like armor made from elegance. Her fingers found the gold armbands. The cool metal slid over her biceps, and the flowing white dress that hung from them billowed like whispered secrets as she moved. I'm fine, she repeated, voice higher than she liked. Just, getting dressed. You caught me off guard. Pause. I do not understand your concern. Are we not both females? Barry froze. Ancestors? What kind of question was that? Her mouth opened, then closed again. Her fingers fumbled for her belt. Gold, magnetic, flexible. It's not that simple, she blurted, cheeks aflame. Her hand shook as she fastened the gold belt. I confess myself puzzled, the voice replied, still gentle, still maddeningly calm. Shimmering, maybe. Okay, so let me back up. So instead of moving like light, it's just shimmering like light. Okay, that does make more sense. That would make more sense. Barry forced her legs into the gold sandals by her bed. The white straps round up her calves, the smooth leather hugging her like a second skin. She flexed her toes once they were secured, grounding herself in the sensation in the present moment. Dear God, girl, get dressed faster. This lady doesn't get normal social cues. She took a breath, another. Then she went forward and pressed the door's unlock panel. The lock clicked. The hiss of the door opening echoed softly, and light spilled into the room. Barry looked up, and her breath caught. There she was, the same figure from the night before. The being Barry had dragged from the wreckage with trembling hands and bloodied knees. Up close, the word angel didn't even begin to cover it. Silvery hair flowed like liquid moonlight, woven into a delicate braid that framed her heart-shaped face. Soft bangs crushed her glowing peach skin, while her silvery blue eyes shimmered, not with coldness, but with depth. She was barefoot. Her long white robes kissed the floor as she moved, wide sleeves swaying gently. Large, downy wings curled around her shoulders like a shield or comfort. Barry could only stare. Whoa, she whispered. The female tilted her head slightly and bowed, her movements fluid and graceful. Thank you for rescuing me. You have my eternal gratitude. Barry's heart thudded painfully in her chest. The air around them felt heavier, warmer. She blinked, struggling to speak. I'm just glad you're okay, she managed. Her eyes dropped, unable to hold that gaze for long. You needed help, and I was there. I wasn't going to let you die. She hesitated, shame curling up like smoke inside her. I'm sorry about your partner, though. I couldn't save him. The angelic being stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Barry's shoulder. Her touch was warm, gentle, but solid, present. There are no apologies necessary, she said softly. Lunarium was aware of the dangers, as was I. Lunarium, Barry echoed under her breath, tasting the name. What is this? Even with the being's reassurance, guilt gnawed at the edges of her. That's a little funny sentence. The explosion, the fire, the way she'd been flung back, powerless to help. She'd never seen a ship like that before. So advanced, so alien. But then the being's thumb moved slowly along her shoulder in a comforting circle. Barry's thoughts stilled. It is all right, she said again. Do not carry the weight of things you could not control. Barry looked up into her eyes that held sorrow, but also forgiveness. Then, a loud gurgle. Barry's stomach betrayed her. She winced. Maybe we could talk in the kitchen? She offered sheepishly. The being nodded, stepping aside with elegant ease. Barry brushed past her, every nerve alight. From the readers, because it's been a while since I read chapter 1, the ending of it mentioned, like, oh yeah, she's this winged being. And it keeps mentioning she's this angelic being, she's this winged being, she's moving all these wings. Is it unusual because this is like space and like a little sci-fi, is it unusual for anybody to have wings? Does she know beings that do have wings? I just don't remember. As a reader, I'm like, is this an important thing? Is this a strange thing? Because having different colored skin isn't strange in this world. Like, Barry has the orange skin. We've met some other people with different colored skin, like with different like orange and greens and reds and stuff. That doesn't seem to be a big thing here. That seems normal. But the wings seem like it's important. Winged races aren't uncommon, but it's the fact she's more angel. So something about her wings is uncommon. She is something uncommon. I'm wondering then if that should be a little bit clearer, or if people should be commenting about it more. Like if there should just be a line somewhere of like she had seen winged creatures before, but nothing like this. Not let's say white wings or something like that. Whatever it is. Whatever's different about her, I feel like should be mentioned, because as a reader, I'm like a little confused. I'm like, is this a big deal? Is she actually an angel? Is this normal in sci-fi? For sci-fi, typically, since everything's unusual to the readers, right? Because the readers don't live in sci-fi world, we kind of depend on the characters to react if something's strange or not. So if you think of something like Star Wars, right? All the spaceships look crazy and spaceshipy to us. So then we'll have things like a character, if someone like pulls up with a super cool spaceship, like the fastest of the fastest, we'll have some other side character be like, oh, what's the guy pulling up with something like that? That's top of the line. How it can go this fast. It's crazy. I thought I would never see a spaceship like that. That lets the readers know, hey, wait, this is like a sports car of spaceships. That's a cool thing. That's something super amazing. If somebody else pulls up and it's like a bucket of junk, someone's gonna be like, damn, I've never seen like a spaceship that old. That thing's so we kind of get to the readers all the spaceships are wonky, but the people interacting in the scene, the way they interact with it gives clues to the readers of like, oh, this is a top of the line thing. It's unfathomable that somebody has this. Or it's, oh, that's just a regular bucket of junk. That's whatever. So just say she didn't recognize what the angel actually is. Yeah, I'm not even sure if there are angels in this world too. Are there like angelic beings in this world? You gotta go now, you're making a cake. Ooh, that sounds tasty. Have fun, Ajuna. Bye. Yeah, so yeah, just something like Barry had seen winged creatures before, beings with like demonic wings, stretched out bat wings, owl feathers, stuff like that. Ones that were like, I don't know, bright green and had glow in the dark. Whatever's normal in this thing. But the fact that Barry's looking at this and is like, oh, I've never seen wings like that. That might be like an important detail. But they are nearly all dead. This girl is currently the only one left. So yeah, if it's like a big deal, that might be something just for Barry to know. It's just to let the readers know, because at this point as a reader, I'm like, they keep pointing out the wings compared to like the crazy skin colors, compared to like the crazy eye colors. So as a reader, I'm like, it feels important that she's winged, but I don't have the context of like, are there other winged creatures? Is it specifically the angel wings? I don't know if it's just solving it, it's just putting it in naturally, whatever way you want to. But just in this setting, in this world where there are winged creatures that you said Barry has seen, but she hasn't seen this, is that like a big deal? If it's not a big deal, then it might maybe mentioning the wings a little bit less, because I'm getting a lot of clues of like, oh, this is like an angelic being. So as a reader, I'm like, is this? I wish you guys could see my model moving around. I'm like, is this actually an angelic being? Is this the hint? Is that the bit? Yeah, maybe Barry compares it mentally a bit more quickly. Yeah, it could just be something and Barry thinks like, man, like she looks beautiful. She looks like an angel, but I've never seen any being with wings like hers. Just a quicker thing, just to give the readers a sense of like, how do we perceive this in this universe. Hello, what? It's good to see you. Yeah, I'm invisible today. YouTube Studio is acting up, so now I'm just a frustrated raccoon in the corner. Barry brushed past her, every nerve alight. She led them down the hall, the soft clack of sandals on stone mingling with the faint creak of wooden beams above. The warm scent of home lingered in the air, cinnamon, cedar, and the faintest trace of her mother's favorite incense. They reached the kitchen, across from her mother's room, just as a faint morning breeze drifted in through the open window. Barry hovered through the red pot hovering above the stove's blue-red flame. Her cyan eyes locked on the stew bubbling inside. A rich blend of meat and vegetables, each swirl releasing a wave of warmth and comfort. She inhaled deeply. Her mom's stew, the same she prepared once a week. Her dad's favorite, her mom said. Her pudgy nose twitched at the savory aroma. Her stomach growled again, louder this time. She grabbed a nearby bowl, eager. Barry Mintaka! So yeah, even her... I'm gonna guess this is her mom. Yeah, her mom stood in the kitchen doorway. Even her mom doesn't call her by that full name that was said in the first chapter. Your Twitch just replayed itself? That's weird. So there was in the first chapter, I can't see it right now, but in the first chapter she has that longer name, and she's like arguing with her boss because he hasn't said it right in years. But the narrator only ever calls her Barry. She refers to herself as Barry, and now her mom's calling her Barry. So it is interesting that like for all that fight over the right name, she doesn't actually go by it. Her whole body stiffened, her neck creaked as she slowly turned her head toward the source of that all too familiar tone. Her mum stood in the kitchen doorway, apron stained with stew and spice, one brow raised in equal parts amusement and disappointment. She wore a red dress trimmed in green that hugged her crimson curves. Her wavy black hair framed her face, falling just to her shoulders, and her emerald eyes sparkled with that maternal mix of affection and exasperation. Mum! Barry said with a guilty smile, caught in the act like a child reaching for forbidden sweets. I didn't see you there. Yeah, good luck. Mum goes between her full name or short name based on context. Okay. Did we get... I think you mentioned it before, but it's just been a hot minute from Cryptid's timeline. What is Barry's age range? I didn't see you there. I can see that, Tessie said dryly, stepping into the kitchen until she was just inches away. Her voice dropped into the realm of softly threatening, the kind that made Barry's spine straighten like a rod as her aunt's voice echoed in her mind. Mother's gaze flicked toward Sunreal. Have you offered our guest anything? She's like 20. You closed the app and reopened it. Hopefully that fixed whatever that was. I hope so too. What? That must be annoying. Tessie, that's her name, but Brainfather. So yeah, I can see that, Tessie said dryly. So that makes sense. So her voice dropped into the realm of softly threatening. So we're talking about Tessie. So the mum's voice dropped into the realm of softly threatening, the kind that made Barry's spine straighten like a rod, as her aunt's voice echoed in her mind. I wonder why the aunt's voice is echoed in her mind. She's listening to her mum. So if she's like being scared by her mom and her backstory, that makes sense. And then suddenly the aunt's brought up, and I'm like, wait, why are we talking about the aunt? It's to cue the reader, aunt is primary parental figure. Okay. That one's a little bit unclear. So, you said Sunreal shouldn't be here yet. But I don't see why not. She's following right behind her. Fairy exhaled sharply, deflating. Yeah, she muttered, rubbing the back of her neck. Her cyan eyes darted to Sunreal, who now stood beside Tessie with a polite smile. Are you hungry? Barry asked. We've got plenty. And Mum's a great cook. She hesitated, then added. By the way, what's your name? Feels weird not knowing it. Sunreal's lips curled into a gentle smile. I have no immediate need for sustenance, but thank you kindly. So yeah, it's interesting because we're following Barry, so the narrator knows Sunreal. And we're saying Sunreal now. But Barry doesn't actually know the name. Yeah, I'm figuring it that it's because she hasn't said her name yet. But the narrator, who is following behind Barry's shoulder. That's why you're saying brain fart. Okay, yeah. So Sunreal in the narration needs to be saved for later. Tessie rolled her eyes, but her smirk gave her away. As for my name, the angelic woman continued, I am called Sunreal. Barry mouthed it carefully. Sunreal? She tested each syllable, letting them linger on her tongue. Sunreal nodded with approval. Yes, that is correct. Barry's lips curved into a grin. Sunreal, I like it. It's different. In a good way. Where are you from? And, what are you exactly? That sounds so rude. Barry. Her words spilled faster than she intended. She'd been holding that question back since the door opened. So we're on page 6. I think I'm just going to finish this page here. Sunreal's smile dimmed. A flicker of shadow passed behind her silvery blue eyes. I am from a world that no longer exists, she said, voice softening into sorrow. My brother and I are among the last of the Nabiel. Nabiel. Barry, why are you whispering everything like you've never spoken before? Okay, Nabiel, Barry whispered, the syllables strange and sacred on her tongue. Her chest tightened. I'm so sorry, she murmured, throat dry. I can't even imagine what that's like. Yet underneath the guilt, something else flickered. The Nabiel were real. All those bedtime stories, all those ancient texts, true. She was looking at history made flesh. So if this was the hint that these guys are something from legend, I think rather than Barry having a freak out over some random hot chick who doesn't have wings, where was it? But earlier this chapter she's having like a random freak out and the gay panic. I think instead maybe that scene should have been about finding somebody else with angelic wings and looking at them and being like, huh, she looks like the Nabiel, but the Nabiel aren't real. And maybe replace the gay panic scene with that. But to freak out more over the Nabiel, yeah, the gay panic doesn't quite feel in the right moment there. I don't even think she was looking at Nabiel, right? Because like I said, I'm like, that character doesn't even have wings. But it seems like the Nabiel do. It seems like they're these winged angelic beings. She was looking at history made flesh. Okay, so Sunreal's hand settled gently on her shoulder, warm and reassuring. It is all right. One cannot dwell in the past forever. Grief is part of being alive. Barry's eyes drifted to her mother, just for a second. Yeah, I lost my dad when I was a baby. I never knew him, but I still miss him. She looked back at Sunreal. It doesn't compare to your loss, but I get the ache. A little. Tessie's expression softened, her eyes suddenly distant. I would assume your father to be an Exian, Sunreal asked. Barry blinked. Yeah, How'd you know? Sunreal's mouth curved into a knowing smile. Your mother is unmistakably Ankun. Her skin is that Ankun crimson. It is not a difficult deduction. And you then, Bereniki Mendaka, are Sarapisan. I wish I knew what any of these words meant. Okay, so she is Barry's mind word, heart pounded. So Exian isn't like they're in the city of Exia or the place of Exia. That is a race then. So the mom is Ankun because she's crimson. The dad is the species of Exian. And now because she's both, she is Sarapisan. So Barry's mind word, heart pounded. Had Sunreal seen other Sarapisans before? Yeah, so these are different races. I thought it was like, oh, like, when I had earlier heard Exian, I was like, oh, that's, like, probably their place. Like, because I think they're in the world of, or in the land of Exia. Something like that. Maybe I'm making stuff up because it's been a while, but I felt like that. So I'm like, oh, yeah, they're Exians because they are in Exia, as in it's like they're it's like Sunreal saying, oh, you're Greco-Egyptian. Yeah, and I'm just, as a reader, I'm letting you know, like, as a reader, I'm just now realizing that's a race rather than like, oh, you're from that city or country. This is the place to do it. So she is biracial then. Had Sunreal seen other Sarapisans before? Barry's mother gave a gracious nod. Yes, Amankun. My name's Kitesh, but most call me Tessie. Kitesh or Tessie? Kitesh or Tessie? Sunreal repeated softly. I shall remember both. I shall not remember both. Okay. Tessie offered her a chair, and Barry, finally freed, ladled stew into her bowl. She plopped into her usual floating seat, black, legless, and gently bobbing with every movement. She took her first bite. Ancestors, her taste buds lit up. Soft root vegetables, tender meat, and spiced broth danced on her tongue. No one cooked like her mom. If it's not too much trouble, Sunreal asked, her voice a mix of politeness and quiet urgency, may I ask the present date? Barry paused mid-chew. The date? Oh yeah. 22nd of Pleura's Odyssey, 50th era. Tessie gave her that look. Lips pursed, eyebrows raised, scolding. The look that screamed, you're too much like your father. Barry stilled herself, like she had since she was a little girl. Aunt Riri's lesson. Mum's word is law, too. That's a better way. Aunt Riri's lesson, Mum's word is law, too. That's a good way of showing the aunt is the parental figure. The earlier one was a little confusing. Sunreal blinked, stunned. The 22nd of Pleura's Odyssey, 50th era. Her voice faltered. It has been that long? A beat passed, then she exhaled slowly. I suppose it is Skyria's will that I am here. So yeah, this one, if you were looking to subtly show like Aunt Riri is the main maternal figure, that was a really good way of sneaking it in there. I like that. Barry sipped from her bowl deliberately, loudly. What do you mean, Sunreal? How old was Sunreal to be able to say such a thing? And then Tessie snapped, exasperated and amused. Bereniki Mintaka, where are your manners, young lady? You're 20 decades old, not 2. Barry burst into laughter, snorting stew right up her nose. So yeah, I think this is gonna go a little bit further on, and I want to get back into other people too who are looking for it. So we've read the first 6 pages of chapter 2. I gave little bits here and there, but for the main things, I think I felt this a little bit in chapter 1 too, especially with there was like a goddess that Barry met. And I was like, it feels like a little uncomfy when it was like being described as like, oh, she looks like a child, but she's also very mature in body. And I'm like, so is she like a teen? Is this it? And she's like, no, it's like a baby, but also a full grown one. It was some weird things that I'm like, that just feels awkward. It feels like a little weird. Just say that you can't tell her age. Like we had some things like that too. In this opening scene with Barry getting out of the bath, I feel it a little bit too. Hi, decaffeinated. I feel like there's like something about like the way it's describing her coming out of the shower and everything, and the mist and everything, and I'm like, this doesn't feel. You fixed that in chapter 1, yeah, and that's fine. I'm just saying it's a similar problem here. There's the similar thing if it feels, and I'm not. I mean, your name is Sir, so I'm just gonna assume, but it feels like a man describing a woman, quote unquote, right? Like, but in the negative way. It feels a little weird here too with the bath scene. Where else was it? So I'm like, this has the same issue as that part in chapter 1 where it feels a little funny, a little wonky. And then some of the scenes here, like she has the freak out of like somebody died in front of her, which I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. She's coming out, she's seen someone. The fact she's screaming it out loud, I'm like, that feels a little weird. That feels a little awkward. Those might be like inside thoughts. But then she also has like the 2 or 3 separate moments this chapter where she's then suddenly switching to gay panic. And I'm like, this doesn't feel quite like the time for gay panic. This feels like a, hey, somebody has died in front of you. Type of panic. I'm just going through. I'm trying to remember what else I was thinking. I like you do very clear the 2 have very distinct voices. Lunarium has a very distinct voice compared to Barry and the mom. And I'm like, yeah, the voices that they're using, their dialogue, very clearly different. Sometimes people struggle with that. Their dialogue is actually really good. I do like Lunarium's dialogue. So that's a plus here. Otherwise, I was almost, I asked you like, oh, how old is Barry? She's 20 in our year. She's 200, but that converts to roughly 20. I'm like, she feels like a young preteen boy. If you got rid of all the she descriptions, all the gender tags here, I'm like, she feels like a 12, 13-year-old boy. That's almost what it felt like. I'm like, this doesn't really feel right. That could just be a me bias, I know, but I wasn't quite connected. Like, this is a young adult. It felt suddenly when she's going into the kitchen, when she's doing all stuff, when she's talking with Sunreal, all the different stuff, I'm like, this feels like kind of annoying 12-year-old boy. I'm thinking specifically of like when I was a kid and I was interacting with like 12-year-old boys. I'm like, that's what it feels like right now. That's what it feels like. This is who's talking. Even though like, she's like talking to her mom, sounds like, if you guys ever watch like animes or like the like reality TV shows, that's kind of like how like male kids talk to their moms, and they like act like the main character, and they like freeze frame, and they're like, oh, I didn't see you there, and I'm like, that feels a little. Does 100 years equals 10 years from them? It's like a decade is 1 year. They counted in like decades. So okay, yeah, Chatty Matty did the math. Yes. Okay, so yeah, the voice for Barry, the actions of Barry here, I felt a little disconnected with. I'm only saying that because last chapter you were asking like, oh, how are you reacting to Barry? I did feel a little disconnected from Barry here. But the dialogue for Sunreal, I think, was solid. I think we're getting the hint of like, hey, this is Sunreal is this important figure who might be starting to send Barry on her quest. Very it's reminding me of Star Wars. I think it's Luke, right? Everything for Luke is like a normal day, and then suddenly this like robot crash lands and he gets this message from Leia being like, please, the world rests in your hand, come save me. Right? It feels like this is the start to the adventure. It's feeling that's like what Sunreal is. Like this literal ship crash landed in front of their house. She managed to save one. It's this angelic being. And now the angelic being is setting up so that way Barry's going to go on this adventure. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting the vibe. So I think that's pretty solid. But yeah, some of the stuff with Barry and how the narration describes some stuff with her, I'm like, it's not quite matching up with what I think you're intending. But otherwise, that is the first 6 pages for chapter 2. Thank you so much for submitting it. I hope some of my stuff I just said made sense. I never promise it will always make sense. Sometimes it's just things like vibes. But that is where I'm gonna end off with that for now. And then I think sometimes it comes off between coming off as a preteen boy and a clever girl. Yeah, and I think you can still have someone come off as clever. But I'm not trying to be mean here, but like preteen boys aren't always clever. They think they're their main character. And sometimes they act that way. They act like they are more clever than they are with preteen boys. As a stereotype, right? Obviously not all preteen boys before someone like comes out here and is mad at me. But that's not quite the tone for like a very clever, capable, smart, engineering focused like girl. And she's not even really a girl, right? She's a young woman. She's equivalent to 20. So she's like a young adult. Good job, Chatty Matty. No sacrifice today. Yeah, stop trying to sacrifice your fellow raccoons. We gotta sacrifice people we actually don't like. So let me see in Discord. Who I think I said Lunar Knight is next if they are still here. There's actually there's 2 from them. Yeah, my goodness, I'm so far behind. Barry definitely doesn't see herself as Barry sees herself. She doesn't have chosen one syndrome. I acted like Joey Wheeler minus the accent in my middle school years. You just posted one more while ago. Okay, I'm gonna go with the first one you did, unless you tell me otherwise. So the first one you did was the Mechline Academy. I'm gonna get that set up. Let's see here. What? Okay, that's here. Yeah, I need a new mouse. Oh my goodness. That's fine. Okay. So let's see. This is a prologue Let's see how this is 19 pages, so I probably won't get the full 19 pages, but I'll do a couple pages till I have a sense of like something to critique on, one or two things. I believe this is your first one. This is your first time submitting. I think this is Lunar Knight's first time submitting. If you submitted before and I forgot, my apologies. There's a lot of raccoons now. Sometimes I'm getting them all mixed up. Yes, okay, so I'll try to limit it to 2. I think you saw me with Chimene. I gave a few more as I read, and then I gave like 2 more. Since this is your first time, I'll try just to stick to 2, because for first time viewers, I try to be a pretty calm, welcoming atmosphere to the world of getting critiqued, because it is very scary sometimes submitting your stuff and getting critiqued live on stream. It's like, ee! I would definitely, if I ever did it, I would want someone to have the kitty gloves first, and then once I trust them, I'm like, oh, okay, now I can actually have you critique it well, now that I know you're not a bully. So this is the prologue. You can let us know in chat if this is part of a larger work, if this is like a story you're writing, if it's a script, if it's anything like that you want to let the other raccoons know. The young child would watch as the sun dipped down towards the horizon, creating a red and purple hue in the clouds from outside the bus window. It was a beautiful sight for sure. At this time of night, the child knew that a curfew was about to be in effect in 1 hour's time. They were never told why this was by any of the teachers or their father. That's interesting. It's a story you just started recently, so not far in. Okay. As the bus squealed to a halt at the final stop, the child would exit with the other children to a line of houses standing several inches apart from one another. This is a little bit of a long sentence. Staring at all the other children running off to their homes, soon the child would do the same. Making their way down to the house, they turned the knob to a rather run-down place at the very start of the strip. It was not as well maintained as the others, but it was the child's home nonetheless. "Dad, I'm home," they called out while making their way inside, shutting the door behind them, placing their backpack on the hook beside the door. They returned to see their father busy cooking in the kitchen, probably lost in thought with the meal he was making. Probably too lost in thought with the meal he was making to notice they were calling out to him. This gets pretty dark, just saying. Okay, are there any particular trigger warnings you want to say for the chat? I'm trying to consider. I try to keep it at a certain level for live streaming. The home the two lived in was a rather small place, with a circular table to the left, with the father wildly cooking and chopping onions right in front of it. Right in front of the table? Okay. The right half of the building housed a small 14-inch flat-screen TV on a wooden shelf with a twin-size bed right in front of it. Behind the television was the only other door in the house, which was home to a toilet and shower. They knew they were on the poorer side of town, as they were constantly being made fun of at school for it from the other children. Yeah, I'm like waiting until they give me some content warnings in the chat, but I'm trying to keep a look on it as I'm reading stuff aloud. As the child made their way to the kitchen table, their father finally greeted them. "Sorry, must not have heard you come in." The father was in his 40s with a graying 5 o'clock shadow and skinny limbs and hollow cheekbones, as if he was sick or malnourished, or maybe a mixture of both. Just a gruesome death near the end. Okay, near the end, I'm not sure if we'll... Oh, maybe near the end of the prologue. I'm not quite sure. Near the end of the prologue or near the end of chapter 1? Because I'm not sure we're going to get to the end of chapter 1 today. You might get to the end of the prologue. Soon the meal was finished, and the father took the plates in his wobbling hands, Placing each one down in front of the other, he then went to the chair opposite and sat in front of his child. The plates held 2 5-ounce pieces of chicken with some salt and pepper flakes on them, and a batch of mixed vegetables on one side, consisting of peas, carrots, and corn. That's another. How was school? He spoke in a soft, raspy voice. Even in such a poor state with messy hair and a white beater with stains on it, the father still had a happy smile on his face whenever he looked at his child. Was this supposed to be a white wife beater? A wife beater is a type of shirt. It's a type of tank top. Yes, near the end of the prologue. Okay. So I'll try to keep an eye on it. But normally, like, murder and stuff is fine. It's normally, like, 18 plus stuff I don't like reading aloud. So it could be a white wife beater, or you might just be using beater as shorthand. Yes, a wife beater. Okay. The father still had a happy smile on his face whenever he looked at his child. With some difficulty, the father would put the fork to his mouth and chew slowly before swallowing. It was good, Dad. I made a few friends. Suddenly they were cut off by the ground shaking and a loud explosion outside the window, where a flash of red could be seen. The building next door was on fire. Then more explosions followed, causing the television to topple over with a loud smash. All at once, sirens wailed all around them as a warning sign to evacuate immediately. Okay, so the child is supposed to be more gender neutral. Okay, because it's a secret. The moment the shaking and rumbling stopped, they would watch as their father hastily shot up from the chair and rushed to grab his suitcase and start stuffing only his child's things into it. Dad, what's going on? Dad, what's happening? What's going on? They would ask in a shaky tone, their cheeks getting wet as they got up and headed towards him. Everything will be all right, but we have to get out of here. Grab your backpack and shoes. We need to leave. They nodded obediently, and not a moment later, he held the child's hand and started jogging out the door and down the street. A crowd of people joined them, all running here and there, trying to get away from the fire. Whatever it was, they were being attacked. Feeling their arm being tugged on, they made their way down the road as fast as he could. So if he here might be referring to the father, or if this is about the child, then this might be a mistake here. The wailing of the sirens having become deafening once outside. They were interrupted by the endless booming noises that happened all around them while they made their way down a hallway of buildings on either side. People ran in between the buildings, while their father took the straight way, using the buildings as cover as the assault continued. After a bit of running, they would make it to the clearing, with the alarm sounds dissipating the further they got. Fear swelled around them as a massive tidal wave of people knocked into the child and their father, causing him to lose his grip, forcing him to let go. It had become every man or woman for themselves. The child could see their father shouting for them, holding out his arm uselessly while the child was too scared to move. Does the child have a name? Even if it's just a gender-neutral name like Alex? Alex is a more gender-neutral one. Because it could short for like Alexander or Alexandra. Not yet. Okay. After what felt like forever, the child saw their father finally break free from the crowd and started making his way towards them while the child was crying and rubbing their eyes. As the father made their way back towards them, they perked up a bit as he got closer and closer. They were alone at this point, so there was nothing to keep him from getting the child to safety. Just as he was about to reach his child, they both saw a shadow looming over the father high above his head. 1 second, the father was there in front of them. The next, there was a crunch as he disappeared underneath a large metal-like foot. I'm not sure metal-like, maybe metallic foot? A large metallic foot? Blood spattered on the child's face, and they looked up in horror at what had just murdered their father. It was a large, black robot with red eyes and a large horn on one side of its head. It's slightly visible from the sliver of moonlight. No, Dad! And then that is the end of the prologue. That's where it cuts off before we do chapter 1. So I think I'll stop it here because that's like a pretty like good ending point. That's like pretty solid, unless chapter 1's also really short. Which chapter 1 has a little bit more length to it. Okay. So when I say, I think I mentioned it before because some of our other raccoons here have also had prologues, and I mentioned, oh, these prologues sometimes feel really long. They almost go on too long, so it makes the readers pivot and focus on the prologue as the main story, rather than just as a prologue as a little snippet before the story and the main characters do their thing. This, I actually feel, is a pretty good length. This is pretty solid. This is like a pretty good range for how long a prologue could be, because it's not too long that you get sucked in and you forget you're reading a prologue. It's not like an abrupt transition when then you go to chapter 1. So I feel this is pretty good, and I feel like there's enough stuff happening. It warrants the prologue, unless, you know, I can change it, like, oh, if we read the story outline for everything else that's to happen, I might be like, was the prologue necessary? Sometimes that's hard to judge until you look at the rest of the story. The prologue is a setup for a later moment in the story. So yeah, until like you see the whole story outline and you kind of get a sense of everything that happens in the story, it's hard to judge if a prologue is necessary or not. But as far as how long the prologue is, I think this is a really good length for a prologue. So that's good. I do like that, and I feel like there is stuff happening. Sometimes we also want to do like a prologue that's just very artsy and introduces characters, but there's nothing actually happening in the scene. There's no like action happening. This has the action happening. There's the murder, there's the change happening, there's this very big moment, right? So I'm like, okay, there is action happening here. The amount of space it's taken is good. So I do like that for the prologue. I will say, I'm not sure if you are purposely hiding the name of the child, because we can't have an androgynous name. I know you're saying the child's gender is a secret. I'm wondering if maybe a gender neutral name would make it flow a little bit better. The name is supposed to be hidden too. Okay. My prologue, if you remember, is there to introduce the context and world. I'm remembering it a little bit, if it's the one I'm thinking of. And even then I was a little bit like, it was a little confusing. I wasn't sure if you needed it. With Artemis, yeah. I wasn't entirely sure. I think, like, again, like I said, sometimes you have to, like, look at the whole story, or even, like, a chapter outline breakdown and see, like, is this prologue necessary, or are we introduced to the world and the context through the main character solidly enough that, like, we don't really need it. It just depends. I don't think we only covered the beginning of chapter 2 for you for that one, Chatty Matty, so it's a little hard to tell at such a state. What was I saying here? Hold on. No distractions here. Hold on. This is the story time. So here again, I haven't read the context for the rest of it. I can only judge it as this current piece here. But I do like the fact that we do have something happening pretty quickly. Sorry, ADHD. Yeah, I get you. Your ADHD and my ADHD are battling it out. Oh no. I'm as the critique, because I don't think I've actually critiqued anything yet. I was pointing out stuff I did like about it, because prologues are so tricky. But for a critique, I will say I've noticed for the writing style, the actual style of the writing, there's a lot of, maybe not something that technically counts as run-on sentences, but a lot of sentences that are very long back to back that almost seem unnecessarily long. even like the opening one here, right? The first sentence is a pretty long one. And oh my god, I can't click on things right. This is why I said I need a new mouse. Please, Jesus Christ. I just want to select this first sentence. There we go. So the first line is, the young child would watch as the sun dipped down towards the horizon, creating a red and purple hue in the clouds from outside the bus window. Like there's I forget what the technical term of it is, but it's the, Jesus Christ, what's it called? Man, I wish it wasn't this late and my brain was working. But it's the set of words that's stuff like on, in, of, towards, in front of, down, below, above. All those like description placement ones and like those type of words. And whenever you put too many into one sentence, it reads like a run-on sentence. So like the right half of the building housed a small 14-inch flat-screen TV on a wooden shelf with a twin-size bed right in front of it. You see how like that's like 3 different things. Oh, hydrate or dihydrate. Hold on. Here's your sippy. I'm actually having water today. Thank you for the hydrate or dihydrate. I love some of the little animated raccoon emotes. I'm really glad you guys are using them. But when there is a lot of those placement ones back to back in one sentence, it, even if it's not technically a run-on sentence, it feels like it. I don't think it's conjunctions, is it? Isn't that when you like join two together? Like will not is won't. Isn't that a conjunction? Add a nabule to the illustration Barry looks at. Would that help? Yeah, I was saying like instead of Barry having the gay panic over a being that doesn't seem related to that scene at all, maybe having her look at a nabule, the winged creature, and then being like, man, this person I just saved looks like them, but they aren't real. This is just a myth. This is just a legend. And have her freak out about that. That would make more sense rather than the gay panic over a character that seems unrelated to everything that's happening in Barry's world. No, it's okay, But yeah. So, but yeah, I don't think it's conjunctions unless someone's gonna point out, like, no, Cryptid, it is conjunctions. You're you're so silly. And I'm gonna be like, damn it. It's not action words because it's not like an action. Action's like running. They're like verbs. They're not action, but it's those little. If you have like a little Snoopy house from the comics, and Snoopy can be on top of the house, in front of the house, below the house, inside the house. That all those type of words. If you have too many of them, it reads like a run-on sentence. And there's not a lot of short sentences at all. Sometimes the dialogue's a little short for the kid, which makes sense. They're a kid. So I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm saying that's kind of like the only instance with short sentences. Normally for our prose, we like to have a mix of long and short sentences, and that makes a better flow. If we do all long sentences, it makes it almost like a breathless reading. You're reading a lot of stuff and it all gets kind of discombobulated. It all becomes run on, even if it's not technically run on. It feels that way. So that's normally with an opening sentence like this one. It could be a bit shorter. So it could just even read as the young child would watch as the sun dipped down towards the horizon, right? That could be a shorter sentence, and then you could have a separate sentence describing through the bus window, the clouds turned into red and purple hues as the bus rolled down the neighborhood, something. And it can be broken up into like 2 or 3 sentences, and then each of those sentences would read a little bit better. Then we have a short sentence. It was a beautiful sight for sure, right? And so that would be the mix of the long and short sentences, and the flow of the prose would be read a little bit better. I don't even know if Lunar Night is still in here. Maybe I'm talking to nobody. My bad. Curfew is about to be in effect in 1 hour's time. I think there's a lot of things that catch your interest here. I'm like, oh, there's this curfew. There's, they were never told why this was by any of the teachers or their father. So that's why I was saying, like, I wondered if you could use something else here, because their father, it intrigued me, because I'm like, oh, here it can also be used for plural. It can be gender neutral for one singular kid, but it could also be for like plural. At least in the English language, that's how we use this particular word. So I was almost like, oh my god, they're on this bus, they're with all these other kids. Do they all have like one singular father? Is this a cult? Are they all going home? There's like the one father they listen to. They all have teachers and their father, quote unquote. And then as I kept reading, it seemed not. It seemed like that's not what's happening here. It's just this one kid with this one kid's dad. But it did like trick me as a reader into thinking, oh, like all the kids have one father. That's, I'm like, there has to be a slightly more clear way of describing it. So they were never told why this was by any of the teachers. Maybe period here. Even the child's father never explained why. Something like that. Just to make it clear, it's only the singular child's father. As the bus squealed to a halt at the final stop, the child would exit with the other children. Child and children here feels a little bit weird here, so I'd almost like at the final stop the child would exit with the other boys and girls to a line of houses, because I don't think the other children, it's a mystery of if they're boys or girls or not, unless it is, like, it could be part of the story that like all these kids are gender neutral and it's part of something. If it's not, I think it's okay to further separate that this child's different, that it's the child would exit with the other boys and girls to a line of houses standing several inches apart from one another. Staring at all the other children running off to their homes, soon the child would do the same. So yeah, it's child, children, children, child, all kind of back to back. That feels a little bit like repetition. Making their way to the house, they turned the knob to a rather run-down place at the very start of the strip. And that's what I mean, where like it's a little bit run. Making their way down to the house, they turned the knob to a rather run-down place at the very start of the strip. So it's a lot of descriptions and placement stuff being condensed into one sentence, but you could take the time to breathe this out a little bit more and make it multiple sentences. If no one is next, can you do my chapter 4? Okay, I'll check just to... I try to keep everyone relatively in order. I think Blub and Dusk are the ones who are the most further back, but I don't think Dusk has been in for the past little while, unless I'm wrong. And I don't know who Blub is in Twitch stream, if they have a different username. So I'm never quite sure when they're here or not. It was not as well maintained as the others, but it was the child's home nonetheless. They knew they were on the poorer side of town, as they were constantly being made fun of at school for it from the other children. Here I'm wondering, I'm like, okay, by the other side of town, is it just like their house, or is everyone on their street that these other boys and girls also live on, also on the poorer side of town, and they're just the poorest of the poor on the poor side of town? Because here I was like, oh, it seems like everyone who was on that bus should be from the poorer side of town then, but it seems like not all of them are being made fun of it. It seems like just this one particular child. You thought the same thing? I'm not sure about which one exactly, but yeah. So here's the other one. The father was in his 40s with a graying 5 o'clock shadow and skinny limbs and hollow cheekbones, as if he was sick or malnourished, or maybe a mixture of both. It's a very long one. Callie? Oh. The ones on the bus are poor, but the people in the school are a mix of both. And it seems like you want to show off that this child is the poorest of the poor because he has the most rundown house on this street. So they're in the poor side, and then of the poor side, they are the most poor. If I'm reading all the context clues right. Callie, hi, yes. So yeah, just in general, I think my two main critiques are for the prose, having those shorter sentences in to mix up, to make it read better, to make it flow a bit better. Having the shorter sentences, you don't need to pack all the details into one sentence. And then for the second one, even though it is, I'm not trying to convince you away from it, I think it could be a cool thing later, for making it a gender neutral child, for hiding their gender and their name. It could work. I think maybe it has to work a little bit more naturally here. It feels a little bit forced. It's getting a little bit in the way of the prose. So I would suggest like double checking and trying to maybe reword some of the sentences, or even places where you use child, children, children, child a little too close back to back. Try breathing it in more and maybe being a little bit creative with those sentences to make it flow a bit better. But those are my two recommendations. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty solid prologue for now, not knowing what the rest of their story is about. But for now, I think it's a pretty strong intro. I like it. It's very intriguing. It captures your attention. There is something right away that happens with this murder. There is something with these robots, with this curfew that's put in place, with the fire. But yeah, those would be my two critiques that I think would be the most effective to help elevate your writing. I hope that helps. I hope it makes a bit of sense. I think I always get a little self-conscious. I'm like, man, I hope my rambling actually makes sense. That's sometimes the biggest thing. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing the prologue for this new work that you're starting to work on, this new story. Because that is a good ending spot. I'm gonna stop there unless we get through everyone else and then you want to continue having critique. In which case then we can go and we can start chapter 1. But for now, that is that. Let me go back. I was a bit worried I did put the word child a bit too much. And again, if you space it out, it's not obvious. You can use stuff like that. And as long as it's not too back to back, the readers will tend to glance over it. It's only when it's repeated back to back that then the readers clue in, and then they're like, wait a second. So you could technically use it the same amount of times, you just need more spacing between it. You ramble too? Yeah. Okay, I think what who asked for next? Let me do my chapter 4. Let's see here. What I have to see. What is happening here? Oh my goodness. No, this is the wrong place. I don't need to be here. I need to first open up Discord. Is it still the DFFPRW one? Is that it? I feel like my mouse is dying more and more every day. Oh my goodness. I was okay with it in the beginning, but now I'm like, geez. Okay. Yeah, if there's time. I'm not quite sure how long I'm going with tonight. Me and Roots are actually, if you guys know Dimension 20, we started one of the campaigns. It's Escape the Bloodkeep we've been watching, and we have 40 minutes left of the final episode of Escape the Bloodkeep. And it's like the final boss battle, stuff is happening, and I'm like, and we really want to finish it tonight, but also like, I'm old now. I have a bedtime. Like, geez. You have returned? Hello, and welcome back. Okay, so you, what chapter were we on? Let me see if I can scroll up. Did you mention it earlier? Can you do my chapter 4? Okay, chapter 4. You've returned from lunch? Jeez, time zones are crazy. I'm just gonna see where we left off in chapter 3. What was the end of chapter 3? End of chapter 3 was getting the note from their grandfather. He isn't fit to raise you. If you desire the crown, take this letter to the council, but you're free to live your life. You share your grandmother's free-spirited nature and so much more. Ren promised me one thing, live to make Vera proud. Sincerely, your grandfather, Elric. So yeah. So Ren now suddenly has the chance to be king, even though he hasn't been trained for it, which I'm like, I'm not quite sure if I like that. I had a little bit, but it could be plot important later, so I'll hold some judgment back from it. You also have a bedtime? Yeah. What parts were making Barry come off as a preteen boy? That's bothering me. My head is going OCD on it, huh? So when it was like the dialogue and the way they were speaking, like even just the pausing dramatically over the soup and then going, "Oh, Mom, I didn't see you there." I'm like, that's not how people speak unless it's like a 12-year-old boy that's trying to be clever, that thinks they're like the main character in a TV show. They could do jokes like that, but it doesn't feel genuine, especially for a girl. And even just the rudeness, the bluntness, I'm like, this just feels, I almost didn't like it. It feels very, the dialogue was very 12-year-old boyish. There was actually, sorry, this is just a funny side story. Wait, where's my beloved blue cryptid? Yeah, there was an issue with OBS today, so today I am, not OBS, with VTube Studio, so today I am an invisible cryptid, but I didn't like not having anything in the corner, so I put one of the little raccoon images there. Jesus Christ, let me pull up the document again, hold on, quick sidetrack. So this one? Even just saying like the whoa, because she's like looking at this pretty chick. Maybe we could talk in the kitchen, she offered. It just feels like a 12-year-old boy. Yeah, okay, this is the one. Mom, Barry said with a guilty smile, caught in the act like a child reaching for forbidden sweets. I didn't see you there. I could almost see it in my head of like a little teen boy like dramatically there and doing like a little finger snap and be like, I didn't see you there. Yeah, she muttered, and I'm like, damn, if you were like a child and a 20-year-old adult and you're muttering like, yeah, like, I'm gonna fucking smack you in the face. What the fuck you mean? Yeah, say that to your mom. Are you hungry? Barry asked. We've got plenty, and Mum's a great cook. Even that sounds a little bit like a 12-year-old boy. By the way, what's your name? Feels weird not knowing it. Feels very like the direct lack of social graces, lack of being polite to a guest who's just lost a companion in front of them. I was like, this is, even saying like, it's different in a good way. Where are you from? And what are you exactly? It just feels a little wonky. I don't even quite get why the mom Tessie's mad when Barry answered the date, and says like, you're too much like your father. It's like, that part, I'm like, why is the mom giving her attitude about that? Everything else Barry has said, I would have absolutely given her attitude for if I was her mom. But that one, I'm like, no, that is the correct answer. even saying, like, what do you mean? And then Tessie snapped. Barry burst into laughter, snorting stew right up her nose. I'm like, this is just a like 12-year-old boy not knowing how to interact with people as an adult, and this is supposed to be a 20-year-old woman, a 20 decades and 3 years woman. So I was just like, man, this is really unlikable. Barry's kind of unlikable here. It felt, you know what it also felt like? It felt, if you guys watch a lot of anime, and there's like that, the stereotype with the tropey, like generic male main character that could be anyone. He's like the Mary Sue of male main characters in anime, and something crazy happens where like a hot alien girl from space lands in front of them, or a ghost who's a hot girl is there, or something happens and they get like a harem. That crazy thing. It almost, if you got rid of all the she tags for Barry, for all the gender tags to show Barry's a girl, it almost would have read exactly like those high school boys in anime who suddenly wind up in a harem. I'm like, this is almost like, even the dramatic pauses over the soup bowl and stuff, I'm like, this reads like a teen boy. I don't really quite know how else to explain it. At least maybe not now when it's almost midnight. Maybe when I'm more awake, I'll have better words. But for now, I was like, huh. It just felt a little wonky for her age and for who she was. Yeah, I can fix the dialogue to make it less preteen boy. Okay. Yeah, it's apologies for the side quest. It's all good. Because I was, especially Sunreal had very clear dialogue. She has her character was coming through pretty strong. And I'm like, oh, her dialogue is great. It's showing who she is. But everything Barry was like completely different from how I read her in chapter 1. I was like, huh. So let's see, chapter 4. Okay. So the previous chapter ended with Ren, who has been cast away. He's gone to what is basically Witcher School. To be, which it's not called that. It's called something else, and it's been too long and I forgot what the word is. But basically, for anyone who's just tuning in, basically like Witcher School. And has survived it, but now has gotten a letter, now they've just graduated from Witcher School, that he could go and claim the throne. I'm not entirely clear as a reader, unless the author says anything else, but as a reader who's read this, who is currently on the throne. Yeah, the place where he went to was Blackrock. So I'm not entirely clear on who is in charge, if it's still the grandfather, or someone else has taken control of it. So Ren was conflicted. Elric, how long is this? 6 pages. Okay, so 6 pages, then we did for 3 pages, and then this will be 6 pages again. We can do that. Ren was conflicted. Elric engineered hatred for the greater good. I'm talking about his grandfather. A flawed man trying to do good, or a dying king trying to further his kingdom. These two versions of his grandfather plagued his mind during his ride home to Eldoria. Callie will soon be going to bed. Alright, have a wonderful night, Callie. His father/uncle, Caldor. That's right, it's his... Wait, what? His father/uncle Caldor. Yeah, because it's his... It was the cheating, right? It was, for anyone who's just seeing this, it was the cheating. Oh, good night, decaffeinated. Have a wonderful night. How much do I need to improve on this prose for this story? I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, MSM. So it was because of the cheating. His uncle is technically his biological father. And they were trying to keep that a secret. Yeah, you can give context first. But both the uncle/father were knights who were being married in, right? They were marrying the king's daughters, right? What? If I'm remembering everything lore-wise correctly. They were gonna marry the daughters. So it should be... The princesses should then be... One of them should have elevated to queen if the grandfather has died. And then one of the father-uncle should then be reigning prince. If we're going by European monarchy standards. You could have it different for your fantasy world. But if it is different, just clarify it. Because otherwise readers will assume... If you guys have ever wondered why like Queen Elizabeth, I think it was Elizabeth, was married but her husband was prince, it's because when a son, the king's son, is elevated and he becomes king, his wife becomes queen. If a daughter rules, if it's a king's daughter who becomes queen, their husband just becomes prince, the reigning prince. So from what I remember, I think it was the knights married the king's daughters because they had so much, like, they've had so much service and loyalty to the kingdom. Ulrich named him the successor. So does this kingdom not go off of blood ties? Is it okay? Is the kingdom like surprised or upset that the blood tie has severed? Oh, posture check. Oh, thank you everyone. Yep, everyone stretch. Oh, I can actually not be hunched over for the stream because I'm not worrying about face tracking. So everyone stretch. Roll your shoulders back a little bit. How's your neck doing? Cryptid, do you also have that rare bookseller ability I have to memorize entire books and summarize them to customers and friends? Dear God, no. No, I do not. I'm trying to see from what. So is anyone in the kingdom surprised that Elric... Because the successor, then, the current king, is not related to Elric. It is not a blood successor. His blood successor should be one of his daughters. And then whatever children his daughters have. In this case, Ren. Ren should be the blood successor. I'll transfer my skills to you. No, please. Then more customers will talk to me. I don't want to talk to people. So the pros is, okay, it's been a couple of months, and within that period of time, they have conquered 5 gyms so far. Is this talking about Pokemon again? Okay, so conquered 5 Pokemon gyms. With them training for the Saffron City Gym, hoping to hop over the big obstacle in their way. The story is just purely for words only, as I don't have the motivation to illustrate every scene in the fic. So most of the fic is illustrated. It's a comic. Oh, MSM30, you gotta give me better context. This is confusing. So it's just a quick little like word thing that you're telling the readers, because this is for a comic. Almost everything is illustrated. And the pros you're going to give them for that time skip is, it's been a couple of months, and within that period of time, they have conquered 5 gyms so far, with them training for the Saffron City Gym, hoping to hop over the big obstacle in their way. So for the pros, I'm going to assume, if the readers have been following along with you, MSM30, with this story, whatever the big obstacle in their way is, I'm going to assume they know what it is. So let's see what's next. It's been a couple of months, and within that period of time, they have conquered 5 gyms so far. The Saffron City Gym looms ahead. ... would be something like that. Because I think the readers, if they've been following along, would maybe get the context of their training for the Saffron City Gym, and they have to, whatever the obstacle was they've been reading about, they now have to hop over that big obstacle. No, not really, since he's married to Elric's oldest daughter. So in this, I'm just making sure I'm understanding you. In this fantasy monarchy, in this fantasy world that you have, in this kingdom, because I think you said in the neighboring kingdom the woman do rule. In this kingdom, the woman cannot rule, so his daughters cannot rule. And it's the daughter's husband, even though he's not a blood relation, that is ruling. Am I reading it right? Hello, Maine. You broke your stream streak? Oh no, Noxley! No. Did you break it, or did you just come to the stream late? If you just came to the stream late, then it's fine. Hello, Maine. It's good to see you guys, though. You missed last stream? Noxley. No, I'm kidding. You're incapable of writing spicy stuff, for my friends have dubbed me too innocent. You know what that means? You gotta go in there and start reading the forbidden spicy stuff. The forbidden spicy stuff, so you can learn more. It's research, for research purposes. So I'm asking what those questions about it, because I do have questions about it. I think anyone currently reading along would also have questions about it. Last stream was like an hour, right? Yes, it was a shorter stream. Somewhat, it would normally go to her, but he overrode that by naming a successor. Yeah, I'm wondering then, like politically, that would cause a lot of stuff. There would be a lot of feelings about that from the general people. The same happened in the Northern Kingdom Eros. So do I have to describe the training montage? Like, for example, psychic Pokemon pissing. I didn't say you had to do that at all. If that's what you want to do, you can. I just said, for yours, MSM... God, what was it? Your prose is... I'm guessing this is just a screen you're gonna flash up, right? In the middle of the comic. Like, it's been a couple of months, and within that period of time, they have conquered 5 gyms so far. Saffron City Gym looms ahead, and the heroes prepare to face their next obstacle. ... Right? That would make a little bit more sense, just rewording that. Because it says in your period, like, the big obstacle in their way, and I'm like, whatever the readers are reading so far, I'm going to assume they know what the big obstacle is, so it felt a little bit weird to be vague and call it a big obstacle. If the big obstacle is training or money or a bully or something, just say whatever it is. So yeah, that was the only bit I had. I'd be like, just say what it is. The readers would know what it is. So Caldor is loved by people, so it went smoothly. But Edwin's success in that prince in the other place succession wasn't as smoothly. Okay. I'm gonna trust you on this. Whatever all this reasoning is, I feel like has to be made a little bit clearer to the readers. Because I think a lot of other readers at the same point I am are gonna be pointing out what to them and to me at first read as like plot holes. And then you have all these reasonings for it. You have this behind the scenes stuff. So I would find maybe some way of mentioning it or describing this better. Because so far it almost feels a little bit jarring that we're in chapter 4. Ren suddenly has the ability to be king. And I feel like a lot of readers would just be looking around going like, wait, what? What's happening here? So whatever all that logic is that you have here, that this background info, I feel like needs to be spread in some natural points in some of the earlier chapters. So these two versions of his grandfather plagued his mind during his ride home to Eldoria. Letting out a loud sigh. Fuck. How do I hate a man for trying his best? Do I hate his methods or hate the man? Huh. Cyros, any suggestions? Ren asked his horse before pressing his head into the horse's mane. I truly lost it. Talking to a goddamn horse, Ren muttered to himself. Yeah, I'm wondering why he's feeling conflicted by his grandfather at all. How much I'd failed as a father. He's faced with tough choices. He isn't fit to raise you. So basically this letter just amounted like, oh, sorry. And now Ren's suddenly feeling conflicted. And I'm wondering why it doesn't seem like enough for Ren to be conflicted yet. Maybe Ren should still just fully hate him. Because even with the king being sorry before he died, I'm still like a little unsure. Like, why did King Alric send Ren to Witcher school? That doesn't help him become king. That could, one, possibly kill him. He had no guarantee that Ren would survive. And two, it would just train Ren to be a Witcher, to just be this super badass supernatural fighter. It doesn't actually help him be king. So I'm not quite seeing why the king was like, oh no, this man will raise you better. Ren could have died. That's just the fact of this, right? This Witcher stuff was it's not Witchers, it's something else. Hold on. I'm forgetting what the word is. But the job they're in is dangerous. A lot of the kids did not make it. There are those challenges where they almost starve and they had to face the monsters and stuff and the creatures. Ren could have died. And the king had no way of guaranteeing Ren would have. So I'm like, why did the king send him here to the Blackrock School? He was riding home in time for the Lilac Festival, Eldoria's winter festival to honor the goddess Laya. The kingdom's buzz at this time was like no other. As Ren neared the gates, the amount of merchant carriages seemed to stack on top of each other as they fought eagerly to gain access. I think it's access, not accesses. The carriages slipped slowly into the city one by one. Ren rode ahead closer to the gates, but far enough away that no guard would notice him. Hey you. I'll pay you 5 gold to say I'm your bodyguard, Ren said to a merchant. 15 and you've got a deal, young man, the merchant responded. 15? Paying you for my services, Ren said, appalled. Yeah, like 5 gold just to lie, to say that's bodyguard. Like, again, I think the currency is, I think I said this last chapter too, the currency is a little wonky sometimes. Merchant let out a chuckle. I like you, kid. You remind me of my brother in our younger years. I'll let you be my bodyguard for 10 gold. A man still needs a profit, the merchant said. Fine. Here, Ren said, throwing the man 10 gold coins. That seems insane. Seems insane. What's your name, kid? The man asked. Valis. Valis the Old, Ren replied. The man easily took note that he was using a fake name, but decided not to press any further. Name's Rob. It's good to meet you, Valis. You gonna enter any of the tournaments? More than likely the swordsman won, Valis said. Halt! State your purpose, the guard commanded. I'm here to sell garments during the festival, and this man is a hired guard, Rob stated. Alright, you may enter, the guard said. That seemed too easy. Why is Ren lying? Especially when he has a reason. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna enter the swordsman. He's gonna enter the swordsman competition. It seems like they'd be like, oh yeah, you look tough. You can enter the swordsman. Is there a reason why he has to pay 10 gold coins to lie and say he's a bodyguard to enter? I think he could just show up looking badass and be like, yeah, I'm here to enter the competition. They would let him. I never said in the story, but 20 silver equals 1 gold. Yeah, even multiple silver is a lot. This just seems... I'm not saying your conversion rate is like 20 gold is 20 silver is 1 gold. The math there, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever you want. I'm saying the actual currency in world of tossing around gold coins like they're like $5. Doesn't sit quite well. Gold coins is like a lot. It's gold. That's some big money. Even silver is like money. So it just seems a little crazy here, the amount being used here. So they entered the kingdom's walls, and Valus's eyes lit up. Here the narrator's using Valus, but it's still Ren. So I think it would be Ren's eyes lit up. The kingdom was a lot bigger than he remembered. The streets were filled with families as they crowded the various stalls spread throughout. I think this Ren walked down the road mesmerized by the food stalls. Beef stew, chicken skewers, fish pudding, fried shark. His stomach rumbled as he couldn't decide what to get. Is there a reason why we're switching to Valus? Valus looked down and noticed a young child stealing 2 honey apples as his friend distracted the owner. He let a small chuckle and he put a finger to his lips as the kid noticed him. Hey sir, what are you selling at the stall? Food and masks, the man said. Valus checked if the kids made their getaway. I'll take 2 chicken skewers. I'll pay for those 2 honey apples that those kids stole. Damn kids. Fine by me, but that would be 12 silver, the man said. And that makes sense. So you have food, honey apples. So I'm like, okay, that's 12 silver. Just for styles. Yeah, but he's not hiding his identity from the readers. We, the readers, know this is Ren. So whenever he's talking with somebody, he could say Valus, like he did earlier. Because he says Valus Thorold. Ren replied. We, the readers, know this is Ren. So unless he's actually going to start using the name Valus, like he's literally changing his identity, and he's like, no, Ren is dead. I'm just going to go by Valus for forever now. Unless there's that big moment, we, the readers, know this is Ren. We don't need to hear him be called as Valus. That's almost a little bit confusing. When it's to the readers, he should still be Ren. Also throw in that wolf mask. He donned the mask and made his way towards the castle to sign up for the tournament. There is 1 spot left in King Caldor's swordsman tournament. Are any of you fine gentlemen up for the task? The crier yelled out. I'll take the last spot, Ren said, raising his hand. Do tell your name, friend, the crier asked. Not sure that's right. Valus Thorold of Eichen, he responded. And that would make sense, right? He's lying. The tournament started. Ren watched and took note of the various fighters. Out of the 9 other contestants, only 2 of them had piqued his interest. Jestrin of the Knight's Guard and Frederick Morstan. Coming to the arena for the first round, Valus Thorold and Adric Vesmir, the crier announced. While walking to the stage, Ren looked to a balcony to see his mother, Aunt Alora, and Uncle Caldor. I'm wondering if he would recognize them, because it's been so long. Oh, I just hit the mic. I'm so sorry. Sorry for any bad audio. The men faced each other, waiting for the signal to begin. The trumpets sounded off. Adric rushed Ren, feinting a big slash for a wide swing. Ren dodged it with ease and waited for his next attack. Adric was over-aggressive, and that was his biggest disadvantage. Adric was over-aggressive, and that was his maybe biggest mistake. Not wanting to reveal his identity as Warden, Ren took 2 swings, missing on purpose. When Adric went to counterattack, Ren quickly swung his wooden sword upwards, disarming him. He stopped his last swing at Adric's throat. Winner, Valus Thorold! When the officials updated the bracket, Jesrin was going to get a free round. His next opponent was going to be Garrett Jagerson. He's patient, but isn't as experienced as Adric. As the next fight took place, Ren didn't take his eyes off his family. The reality of his grandfather's letter slowly crept into his mind. The old man was really gone. Caldor is now the king, Allura is the queen. Lost in his thoughts, he almost missed his name being called for the next round. Coming to the arena for the semi-final round. Garrett Jagerson and Valis Thorold, the crier announced. You need to end this quickly as Jezrin waited for him in the final round. Valis rushed him. The swords clashed. Geralt stumbled backwards before falling. Valis took his opportunity. He kicked the sword free from his hand. He stood over Garrett, holding the wooden sword near his face. Winner, Valis Thorold. Jezrin took the stage, eager to start the final round. The blue woman is dead, long live the raccoon. Oh no. Yeah, we had trouble with YouTube Studio today. So I'm an invisible cryptid. And we just have my exhausted raccoon. He's gonna take the place for me today. Hopefully for next stream, I'll have everything working properly. But for today, this is what we're working with. We're just doing our best still. Coming to the arena for the final round, Valis Thorold and Jezrin Call, the crier announced. They paced around each other in a circle, waiting for each other to make the first move. With each step, Jezrin closed the distance between the two. Valis took his first swing and Jezrin parried. So Ren took his first swing and Jezrin parried it. Jezrin launched his counterattack. He feinted a high attack before gut-checking him. Valis had to calm himself. Ren had to calm himself before his wolf side came out. Yeah, see, even just me, like, the Valis is throwing me off. Before his wolf side came out. Jezrin rushed him, sending a flurry of attacks at him. Ren blocked most of them. He let 2 of them hit him before returning a gut check of his own. Jezrin smiled as they started to pace each other again. They both rushed forward, swords clashing. Jezrin loosened his grip and elbowed Valis in the face, breaking the mask and busting his lip. So then we switch over here, placing her hand over Laura's. No, it can't be. Is that Ren, my love? Ilia questioned. So I think here, because it suddenly says her, and we don't know who her is, it should probably start with Ilia. Ilia placed her hand over Alora's. No, it can't be. Is that Ren, my love? Ilia questioned. There's triple each other within one paragraph. Yeah, so sending a flurry of attacks at him. They each other. Oh, I think my music's almost done. Hold on. Gotta restart the lo-fi beats. So each other. Gut check of his own. First and second. Oh, you're right. Even the first, each other. So yeah, you're right. There's 3. I'm like, I see 2. You're right. There is 3 in one paragraph. Thank you for checking that. Thank you for noting that triangle. I wouldn't worry because this is another fighting scene, and I think it's falling into the trap we've noticed in earlier chapters too, of they all go very, very quickly. It's very, very rushed. It reads almost more as like a plotting outline for what needs to happen rather than the actual finished prose. So I'm like, here, this whole entire exchange, this fight that Ren has with Jezrin could be like a big fight scene. And it could be like multiple paragraphs. It could be a page or more, right? Of this fight scene with Jezrin. That's why I'm over here like, maybe when it's spread out more, then those each others would get tidied up. They won't be as close they wouldn't be as repeated so close to each other. Ironically enough, now I'm saying it. Oh, it's one of the most common mistakes you make too, and you always kick yourself for it. Yeah, I think that's one thing too. Sometimes we can notice mistakes not in our own work so often, but as soon as someone else makes, we're like, oh yeah, I do that all the time too. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I think when this is maybe stretched out a bit longer, maybe that would flow a bit better. But anyway, so Ilya placed her hands on Alora's. No, it can't be. Is that Ren, my love? Ren staggered for a moment before stopping. He swung the sword up to eye level. He tightened the grip of his right hand and loosened the grip of his left. Kaldor stood up in his chair. Ren, you sneaky bastard, he mumbled to himself. Damn, Kaldor, what is this attitude? So I'm amazed. He is an adult now. They last saw him when he was not even 5, right? What can double correct me here? He can check me. I think they last saw Ren when he was a baby. Like, he was a kid. He was a child. He was a young child. Itty bitty. And now this is a grown-up Ren. I'm not sure, even without the mask, I don't think they'd recognize him. If you last saw somebody when they were like 5, and then you suddenly see a grown adult fighting and a pit of other grown adults fighting, yeah, I don't think you're gonna recognize that adult fighting was the 5-year-old that you last saw. I'm not sure they would recognize him. He was 5. Yes, you said he was 5. He was 5. I don't think they're gonna recognize this grown-ass adult. So he mumbles to himself. As he realized what was going to happen next, Jezrin rushed in, aiming to feint an attack to catch him off balance. Valis watched Jezrin's movement closely as he feinted the low attack and brought the pommel up. Valis swiped his sword downwards, hitting his hand. Valis released his left hand, letting the power of the right gracefully carry the sword as he hit Jezrin in the side of his head. The hit disoriented him, causing him to drop to his knees. Valis walked over, placing the tip of his sword on top of his head. The fight was over. Valis had won. Wrong one. It should be W1. Won the last round. Kaldor doesn't know him by face. Okay. But when the mask is gone, they don't recognize him. The mask is broken. Now they recognize him. So to the readers, it sounds like they're recognizing him by his face, because the mask was only blocking his face. The moment was interrupted by Kaldor, who was clapping and laughing. Congratulations, Valis Thoro, or should I say Prince Ren Calvain. I think they should be Ren Calvain II, because he has the ancestor who was royalty, who was Ren Calvain. By the gods, in the 13 years that you've been away, you'll never manage to fix your foot placement doing that move, Kaldor teasingly said. He would not recognize him by this. No. No, don't try this with me. No. No, he would not. The crowd didn't know how to react as the mumbles filled the arena. Ren smirked. Even with that, I could still beat you with your own move, Uncle, he yelled back. He would not remember this stuff when he was 5. Do you remember stuff when you were 5? And Ilya knows similarities. No, I'm not sure this is believable. Even in France, I'm not sure this is believable. The goddess has brought us a gift, everyone. Tonight we celebrate goddess Laya and Ren. By my decree, all food and ale is half price for tonight. Does he have that power? So eat, drink, have your fill, my people. Tonight we feast in the castle, Kaldor commanded with a huge smile. You remember all the cringe parts of being 5? It would be a good idea if maybe the uncle recognizes a fighting stance the main character would do if he was 5. Well, the thing is, in the story, he was 5 and training, and apparently was already at 5 learning this master move that only the uncle knew. His uncle father knew. It has then been 13 years where he has been put to the death to be the ultimate fighting master witcher, guardian reaper type thing. There has been nothing but fighting and survival for the past 13 years. And now this is a grown adult who is 18, who has been doing nothing but fighting since before 5. I think whatever error in his basic foot structures would have been fixed during the 13 years. It's a move that he only taught to Ren. And I think in 13 years, even if it's a move someone else taught you, your other skills would have caught up, and you would be able to perform that move better. And sword fight, unless it's some crazy Jedi mind trick, I'm not sure if this is the best hint at what it is. If the purpose of this move was so that 13 years later, Caldor would recognize Ren. So I'm seeing Valis and Ren here. So if the point that you had that Caldor taught baby Ren this move, so that 13 years later, Caldor would recognize adult Ren, I don't know if it's the most believable thing. I think there has to be something else that lets them recognize Ren, if that's what you want done. But this particular move, it's not crazy that somebody else could figure out a fighting move in a world where there's crazy fighters. And I'm not even sure quite what the move is that is so world-shatteringly crazy that only one knight ever knows it, and that anyone else who's a capable fighter that would have seen Caldor fight couldn't also learn it. Like, if you were on the battlefield with Caldor and you're a capable fighter, you would see Caldor fighting and you'd be like, whoa, Caldor has a fucking cool badass move, and then you would learn the move. That's how fighting was taught. Really, only a master would need to teach like newbies, like a new apprentice, someone from fighting from scratch. They were trained in their fighting style. But once you know fighting and there's another fighter in your same style who has a move, once you see them do a move, you'd be like, oh, cool, that's legit. And then you would practice the move and you could do the move. Oh, a stupid childish victory flourish. Yeah, flourish something. That would even stick better. Yeah. As someone who is into sword fighting, there are specific moves that are more common among different fighting styles. Like, I favor German longsword, which leans a specific way. So yeah, in this world, let's say everyone else here is also, because this is a knight of the king, so that knight, Caldor, would have been trained in German longsword, in your example, along with all the other knights. If we're the king, 4 years, and he was able to marry the princess because he was like the bestest knight, right? So then he then trains baby 5-year-old Ren in his German longsword, but he was such a good German longsword sword fighter, he had a particular German longsword move. I think anyone else who the other knights there who also know German longsword and would have also been training with Caldor for years and years and years, who also know German longsword basic techniques, would look at him and be like, damn, Caldor learned a fucking cool trick. And maybe they wouldn't be as talented at Caldor at it, but they could still, since they all have the same training and it's not a move that is incompatible with German longsword fighting techniques, they could all eventually learn the move too. It would just be like, that's Caldor's move. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be named after him. And baby Ren would learn it. He went to Blackrock. Everyone else there is just fighters, but like better supernatural level fighters. So I would theoretically they would learn German longsword or maybe some other variation of longsword techniques that's specific to Blackrock, but it wouldn't be unheard of in they're all in the same kingdom. And some masters could create a specialty move that is not covered in the books. Yeah, not covered in the books, but I'm saying, like, you're there, you're with your buddy Kaldor as knights for 20 plus years. Kaldor learned a fucking cool ass move. You guys all have the same basic training. It's a move that works with German longsword fighting. It's not like he's suddenly learning like ninjutsu or something. It's not a completely different, unused set of skills. He did a move that works with the fighting style. They'll be all like, damn, that is cool. They could conceivably also do it, but it would just be known as Kaldor's move. That's what I'm saying. And like a 5-year-old to remember this, be the only one ever to use it, all the years of training in fighting style, and then when he pulls this move up again 13 years later, he's not better at it, he's doing the same mistake. It just feels a little forced. This isn't the best logic for the scene. It's an extravagant move that's more dangerous to the user rather than the opponent. I think Dris Duerden does do that. If anyone's know that, I talk about the author who does the Dris Duerden series. That one has a lot of fighting in it, and people talk about that writer. He did writing fight scenes very well. And in that one, there was a scene like that. Dris Duerden did learn a particular fighting technique and then had to beat that fighting technique from another drow elf who it turned out to be his father. But it was a little bit more emphasis and time built into that in order to pull it off successfully. Yeah, you can easily recognize the school, but not the exact person. How about the main character's very distinctive cut on his face, and that could explain why he has the wolf mask earlier. That could work. But just this payoff here for learning this move as a 5-year-old and then 13 years later, it's not hitting me as a reader, right? I think that's my biggest critique with the scene. This doesn't feel right or logical as a reader. So yeah, I think something else, like they recognize some birthmark, something distinctive about his hair, something here. Other than it's just this move he learned as a 5-year-old and he's making the same mistakes in it that Kaldor recognized. It's not hitting right. And then I'm not sure if the king could just decree all food and ales half price for tonight. I'm not sure if he has that power. If it's a very specific way of fighting that is not of the common sword fighting style, then everything would be typical, which would be identifiable. We don't know if Kaldor has anything else. I think he knows the same fighting style as the other knights. It's just one move. It's one specialty move that Kaldor is known for among the other knights. So that's why I said, like, the other knights maybe could not pull off the move as well once they learned the move from seeing it by Kaldor. But it would still be Kaldor's move. Like, I'm not saying Kaldor shouldn't be known for the move. It could still be quote-unquote Kaldor's move. But just the fact that nobody could ever think in this new move that he made that works with their fighting style, that works with the Knights of the Kingdom's fighting style. I'm just like, no, the other knights should eventually be able to figure it out once they're exposed to it, once they see it. And then I don't know if baby Ren from 5 years old would still be able to recognize it, and then after 13 years of training, not be able to do it better. They can, but it's not practical for them to use it. Okay. So what makes it practical to use in some situations? What is this move? Because some moves can be practical for fighting multiple targets that might not be practical for just fighting one target. Some moves are more practical for long range versus short range. Some are practical when you're going from a kneeling position and you're fighting up. Some are practical when you're standing and you're going to a target below you. There are certain situations that make moves practical and other times not practical. So I'll wait to see what. But otherwise, so my liege, forgive me for striking you with my elbow, Jessamine said, kneeling. There's no need for kneeling. I care more about being a warden than a prince. There we go. See, I kept saying witcher, and I'm like, it's not a witcher, it's some other word. It's warden. They are wardens in this world. You fought your best given the circumstances, so stand proud of yourself, Ren said, patting him on the shoulder. Ren made his way up the stairs towards his family. Before he turned the corner, a gray blur had grabbed hold of him. My son is home. Did they take care of you properly there? Did they feed you well? Were you mistreated at all? Please tell me that you've done well to avoid brothels, Ilya said as she let go of him. That is a lot to say. It's a last-ditch effort type of thing, but he uses it when there is no need for it. Okay. Back to the fight scene. Jasmine on the side of his head. I'm not quite sure when the move even happened. Hold on, so it happened before this. It happened somewhere in here. He let two of them hit him before returning a gut check of his own. Jasmine loosened his grip and elbowed Valis in the face, breaking the mask and busting his lip. Yeah, I'm not quite sure when the impractical thing happened. Because here it's Jezrin loosens his grip and elbowed Valis in the face, breaking the mask and busting his lip. And then Ilya can already tell that that's Ren, even though she last saw him when he was 5. So as a reader, I'm not quite convinced over this series of or this logic. This is not quite doing it for me. I think that's the place where I have the most gripes so far. Ren let out a small laugh. Yes, I've avoided brothels, mother. I'm fine. Truly, I was able to come home now that my training is done with, Ren said. Good, I'm glad you're home. Now go bathe and prepare yourself for the feast, Ilya said, shooing him away. Dear God, woman, you just saw your son. You're already sending him away. Oh, no. Ren headed for the crypts instead of his room. Yeah, I don't even know if he would know where his room is. Amongst the rows upon rows of coffins sat Elric's lavish coffin. Coffin repeats twice. It was marble with a silver and gold trim matching Vera's coffin, which it sat next to. I don't know what to say or feel about what you did. I hated you for years. You took me away from my mother without any thought of my feelings or hers. I don't know how to forgive you or even if I want to. You even went as far as offering me the crown for what? If you wanted me to be king, why not do it back then? Why hide your true feelings in some damn letter? Ren furiously said. This feels like good feelings. You need to go back and explain it better, but he throws his body and sword towards. Do you mean forwards? He throws his body and sword forwards? I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite understanding it so far. Letter? A voice in the dark questioned. Ren, what letter? Allura asked, emerging from the darkness. He left me a letter to read once I was old enough for it. He wanted me to forgive him for his past mistakes, and forgive him for what he thought was best for me, Ren said. Do you forgive him? Allura asked. Look around you, Ren. In this room sits our grand family. Most of them made terrible decisions, and some made good ones. Some of them didn't live long enough to see it through. Look to the far right corner sits Prince Dalus. He is the younger brother of King Rendalis. He took a sword for his brother so that he could take the crown. Look next to your grandmother. Your Uncle Aldwin made sure that he, your mother, and your Uncle Edwin were properly taken care of when Ellic's grief made him abandon us. It takes great courage for a 17-year-old boy to raise his 3 siblings. You don't have to forgive him. I sure as hell haven't. But understand some decisions are made for the greater good, Allure said before leaving the crypt. Forwards at the enemy. Okay, that isn't... If this is typical knight fighting, like knight's sword stuff, that's not unusual. You need to go forwards towards the enemy in order to fucking hit them. Knights in general do a lot of throwing their body weight around to fucking deck somebody. They do that. So it's still not unusual. Especially for someone aggro. A more aggro knight would definitely do it, even if it's not always necessary. They're going to rush you, beat the shit out of you, get that advantage, and try to overwhelm you by approaching you faster and heavier and stronger, and push their body and their sword. That's not unusual for, like, knight fighting. These are knights. They absolutely do that. So Allure here is saying that some decisions are made for the greater good. I, as a reader, am still not sure why Ren, if he could be king, was instead made to possibly die to be a warden. A warden is just a supernatural fighter. It's not really going to help him with being king. Pressure is a thing in sword fighting. You control your enemy. You can bait into your favor. You control your enemy. Maybe you can bait them into your favor. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It depends on what fighting style we're doing here. I'm just not sure if it's coming across clearly. You should have just ended him rightly. That'll cause an uproar. Who? The grandfather? The king should have killed Ren. Get almost at the end. He crumpled up the letter before using a candle to light it ablaze. I choose to forge my own path, grandfather. So he's not going to be king. He has lit the letter up. Ren walked with his mind clear for the first time since reading the letter. His mind wondered about what happened to the warden that Balin killed, and what was the elder's next move. He walked past the courtyard, seeing his uncle pacing about as the sun set, and we as the readers, because he mentioned in the first chapter that the uncle is actually his father. Is something a concern, uncle? He asked. Kingly duties, that's all, Caldor said. Anything I can help with? He asked. No, your mother would have me executed if I roped you into this, Caldor said jokingly. You'll be fine, so what is it? Ren asked, pressing further. Fine, but do not tell your mother or aunt that I told you this. Iron Helm has asked us to send some troops to aid them in a war against Jarl Cassian, Caldor said. Isn't the kingdom of Avalon closer than us? Why not ask them for help? Ren questioned. They are helping them. Avalon is fighting Cassian and his allies in the sea. Cassian's blockade has made it hard for them to get troops and supplies to Iron Helm. So we are the closest kingdom that can provide support. Let me worry about this. Go and enjoy the feast, Caldor said. Send me an unofficial contract. I can give them a better fighting chance and get paid while doing it. It's a win-win for the both of us. I can refine my skills and refill my pockets, while your ally can get the help they need, Ren said. Rightly is a very weird move, described in one of the fencing books that involves unscrewing a pommel of your sword to throw at opponents as a distraction before a killing blow. Oh, one of the means of a long sword community. Okay. With a quiet laugh, you sound more like a warden than a prince. I'll think about it. Now go, Ren, enjoy yourself. Eat, drink to heart's content. After all, you're the guest of honor for the feast, Caldor said. Ren reluctantly went to the feast. He noticed how eager some of the nobles were to see him. A couple went as far as to introduce him to their daughters, in hopes of one of them marrying into the royal family. He managed to sneak away after a while. Where are you off to? Asked Ilya.
To bed. I hope to ride to Ironhelm in the morning with Uncle's permission, Ren said, yawning as he made for his room. Furiously, Ilya went to the king's room, shoving the door open. You fucking asshole, Caldor, she shouted. Please not tonight, my love. Censor content for Twitch. Ilya, what's wrong? Alora questioned. And son of a bee is sending Ren to Ironhelm, Ilya yelled. Her eyes began to fill with tears. He's just now returned to us after 13 long years. Damn it, Ren, Caldor whispered quietly to himself. He asked me to send him on an official contract to Ironhelm to help them. I didn't agree to anything. I simply told him that I would think about it. Censor content for Twitch, Caldor said. Both gave him a withering look in response. Fine, I'll talk to him in the morning. Good night, Caldor said before turning over to go to sleep. So let me see if I'm reading this scene right. So they are at the feast. He's attempting to sneak away from the feast. Ilya, who is still at the feast, who is in the feast room, asks, oh, where are you off to? Because he's sneaking away. He's getting out of the feast room. He's going, oh, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go to Ironhelm in the morning. He's going for his room. He's leaving the room, the feast room, and heading for his chambers. That's where he's going. Suddenly, Ilya went to the king's room, and he's shoving the door open and yelling at the king. So the king's not at the feast. Alora's also not at the feast and is now suddenly outside the king's room and says, Ilya, what's wrong? And they're both talking to him in his room where he's already in bed because he's turning over to go to sleep. So he was already asleep in bed while this feast was happening. I'm a little confused about the placement here of where people were. As soon as you read it, I giggled. Yeah. I guess Longsword community stuff has jokes. They have jokes. So that is the end here. So I saved my biggest questions. The part I had the biggest gripe was, I think you could kind of pick up on this, but was this scene of people recognizing Ren over the move he learned when he was 5 years old from Caldor. Yeah, Caldor. And that was the biggest gripe. I think something has to be worked out instead. There has to be some other way that they recognize him. That's not just after 13 years they recognize him even though he's now an adult and they last saw him when he was 5. It's partly... I'm not confused about the spicy. I'm confused about where they were. They're in the feast hall. And then suddenly they're in a hallway that's right next to the king's room. Is the king's room right next to the feast hall? I doubt it. Why is the king not at the feast? Because it goes from... He's at the feast. He's then going to sneak away. He's sneaking out of the feast room. So either in the feast room or just outside the feast room. He runs into Ilya, which if he's outside the feast room, that means Ilya wasn't at the feast room. Why was she not there? Suddenly, she goes to the king's room. I don't know how far away that is, but that means the king was already asleep and not at the feast. And then Alora also happened to be here, right behind Ilya, so she was somehow also outside the feast. Yeah, people analyze, mimic, attempt to understand, to counter. And that's what I was saying. So this has been a technique known to Caldor and was taught to Ren over 13 years ago when Ren was a baby. It was already famous 13 years ago. Caldor was a knight. The other knights would have learned and mimicked the thing because they have the same training as Caldor. They were all knights. The other knights would be like, oh, Caldor, cool move. And they would learn it. Caldor and Alora aren't at the feast room, but they are in the bedroom. So they went to bed. The feast is still going on. Ren snuck away. Either in the feast room or outside it, Ilya saw him questioned it, and then went to the king's room. If that's the series of events, then it just needs to be a little clearer here, because I was confused where people were in space. But otherwise, yeah, that little snippet of the fight move 13 years later being the one thing, it's not quite making sense to me. And then the other thing, I know you have reasons for it, but the reasons aren't being explained to the readers for this succession, for why Ren was sent to be a warden. It's not making sense to the readers. It might be making sense in your head, but it hasn't been translated onto the page yet. Why does Ren, who's now a warden, suddenly capable of being a king? Why the previous king sent him away? There's just a lot of questions, and I'm not sure they're intentional questions. I said before, sometimes we can have intentional questions. We want to guide the readers along, to interest them, to cause intrigue. It's not quite causing intrigue. I almost feel like a little frustrated. I feel like I'm not getting stuff. It's not quite making sense. So I think that'll be my biggest two things, is figure out why the king, the grandfather king, wanted to send him away to Blackrock to be a warden. And then 2, I think, have something else besides the move to make him the identifier. Something else has to clue them in that this is Ren. And honestly, since he meets them so easily, it doesn't feel like he even has to be hidden. Unless he just wanted to do this tournament. Without them knowing he's Ren. It doesn't quite make logical sense. He goes and greets them normally right after, and he calls like the mom. So he doesn't seem mad at the rest of his family. He could have just entered this as just regular Ren. He didn't even need to hide himself. I'm trying to like look back and be like, why did he hide himself? Because normally you hide yourself if you don't want your family to recognize you yet. But I mean, his family recognized himself in the middle of that last fight, and he was like, yeah, that's okay. And he just hung out with them afterwards, and he had a feast in his honor. So it's like, the payoff for all the sneakiness doesn't seem warranted. So I'd say, like, really thinking about the logic behind why your characters are doing stuff, and maybe making that logic a bit more apparent. Those are going to be my biggest critiques here. There are some flaws. There's some plot holes here that are jumping out at me. Because I would focus more on that, on really hammering out those plot holes, the reason for characters doing stuff. But those are going to be my critiques. Thank you so much. We've gone through chapter 4 of your work so far. That's exciting. You've gotten a lot of work done. I can already see there is a chapter 5. I'm not gonna cover that tonight, but there is it. So you are progressing with the work. I think this is gonna be part of a series, right? I think you've mentioned before, like, there's gonna be a prequel series. There you have like all the history of the kingdoms lined out. You have multiple wardens and all over the world mapped out, and all the different stories. I think this is like a really big project. Every plot road needs some plot holes so the driver doesn't fall asleep at the wheel. Yeah, right. It keeps critique partners. It keeps your beta readers engaged and focused. Can they spot all the plot holes? There's even people, when they start looking at hiring editors, because editors cost money, in their little example, because normally you get a test example with an editor first before you hire them, you'll actually purposefully put errors into the work, into the sample you send them, just to make sure that the editor is doing their job and is catching all those errors, right? So they're not falling asleep at the wheel. They had to catch all the errors that you put in there. So hey, that's a fun little thing that some people have mentioned. You just started chapter 5. Okay. Yeah, lots of cool work here. I feel like you know a lot about this world as a whole. The world as a whole you know a lot about. I feel like now we need to really focus in on the characters? Why are the characters as people doing stuff? Why did the king do this? Why is Ren reacting this way? And that, I think, is you need to zoom in a little bit closer. But otherwise, that is my critique. Thank you so much for submitting. I know hearing about plot holes and stuff live on stream can be a bit daunting, but it's never to make fun of you. It is just to point stuff out. That way it's something to guide you to work on for future work. Because like I said, you are working on a huge project. It's spanning multiple books. It's spanning multiple characters, speaking multiple times. This is a huge world you've created. So catching this stuff earlier is going to be a lot more helpful rather than when you're 3-4 books in. I'm going to expand on it with the conversation between Elric and Vera's brother. Vera's brother. There's Alora and Ilya. Vera's brother. I'm not quite remembering who those characters are, but it's also been a while since I looked at your full synopsis for the book, so that could be my fault. I could just be forgetting who those characters are. But otherwise, that is the end of that for now. And it is almost 1 a.m. for me, so even if I did want to offer a better critique, I don't know if I could, because a 1 a.m. cryptid is not as smart as a well-rested cryptid. So I think we're going to end it here. But thank you guys so much for submitting and working on your stories and working on your craft. Writing and storytelling is absolutely a craft, and we get better at it the more we practice, the more we really hone a craft. It takes time, it takes multiple passes, it takes work. So thank you guys so much, but otherwise I am gonna go to bed right now. So thank you and have a wonderful night, and good night. Goodbye.